I am very well, thank you.
Things in the land of Muga are good this morning.
Yes, they are. And the inhabitants of that kingdom are also well.
The inhabitants of the kingdom are well. Thank God, though. It's Friday. Today is the 26th of March. A day when many, many, many things we are coming to light. But now, just making sure that you're all right. Quite a number of things to talk about today. Quite a number of things to get into. Eric Latif today is away, attending to important matters and being a source of comfort to many this morning. So our wishes go with him and others as well. He'll be back with us on the next time we come together. But for now, here we are. Welcome to the Situation Room this morning, everybody who's tuned in. So far, so good. We have many conversations to have today. There are many calls for many things to happen, and we're going to be having those conversations today. And thank you already for joining us, and we ask you to join us as we go on and talk about some of those things. So, first of all, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance has said that the government needs to look into shutting things down because the numbers are a little bit too high. So we're going to be talking about that today. And there's also another alliance that's not talking about shutting things down, but rather opening things up.
Yes.
Politically. The One Kenya Alliance Promise is what we're going to be talking about today as well. And as if that's not enough, there seems to be some scandals when it comes to education in this country.
Well, so it would appear, if we were to believe everything that presents itself as the headline in our local newspapers. Yes?
Exams are going on. The Kenya Certificate of Primary School examinations concluded.
Concluded on Wednesday.
Yes. KCSC begins today.
Yes.
So we're going to be looking at that conversation also today as things roll around. But one thing still happening in the country, COVID-19, the numbers are crazy. If we're looking at specific numbers than that we found in the country just yesterday, let's look at global numbers first. You know, yesterday we were looking at 124 million cases globally. The cases in the world increased by 2 million yesterday. And if we're looking at what's happening in the country right now for Kenya, Kenya now has 126,170 new cases. And yesterday, 1,463 new cases and unfortunately 26 new deaths. Big numbers. Again, you know, every day we say it was the highest. Yesterday was the highest number of deaths recorded or reported on a single day in Kenya. And that is what we saw yesterday, unfortunately. With this, many calls for certain things to happen. CAS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi yesterday also made this announcement and then came out from the Ministry of Health that the elderly will get the COVID vaccine. So people aged 58 and above are now eligible. And so in as much as frontline workers are getting the vaccine, what we are saying now is that the elderly now have been added to that number. So go ahead to all the centers that have been announced and get it. The question that followed that is, which centers? Where are you supposed to go? Do you just walk into hospital and say, well, I'm 58
Here
and
I am.
above.
Vaccinate
me. In terms of sharing information as per where that's supposed to happen, we really don't know. So hopefully the hope is that soon we'll be told exactly where you can go and get these vaccines. So there's still slow uptake of the vaccine. The focus has now turned to the elderly to get more numbers in there, getting more people to come and get vaccinated. The sluggish uptake of the vaccine, which has a short expiry date of June. So we are looking at, in the next 2 months, right, this batch that came into the country last month will have expired. And they still have a long way to go. We are looking at under 60,000 people having been vaccinated in Kenya so far. And we've got 530,000. So about 400,000, just above 400,000 left to go. And these have not been used. So adding more numbers. And I actually think that it's about time that you added more numbers even to this. And I think we'll be talking about that later. But I think it's time to open it up. What are you going to do with a wasted batch of vaccinations? with wasted batch of vaccines,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, according to Dr. Willis Akwale, the ministry's chair of the National Task Force on Vaccine Deployment, according to our data, these are at most risk of severe disease and account for 60% of our recorded deaths. So this is the reason why they were added to these first numbers of people who will then get inoculated. To try shore up confidence in the vaccine, the government has offered the drug to all political, religious and community leaders. The ongoing phase 1 vaccination targets 1.25 million frontline workers, those providing essential services like teachers and staff in educational institutions, the police, the military, prisons and immigration officers, and instructors in religious institutions. This prioritization is also aligned to the World Health Organization and National Task Force on Vaccine Deployment task force and recommendations, according again to Dr. Akwale. To date, we have vaccinated 64,000 people. And in the last 2 days, we have an average of 10,000 vaccinations administered. Over the next 2 weeks, we aim to be vaccinating over 20,000 people per day across the country.
Actually, they can reach those numbers. If we take the view that we have seen vaccinations taking place in an even greater divide when it comes to diversity among Kenyans, like say the polio vaccination, and the speed and the accuracy with which the entire exercise was conducted, you can say that if you use a similar procedure, it is possible because it is an injection after all.
Right.
And the personnel whom we have right across the country who know exactly how to do this are plenty. It's a question of will the vaccine be readily available for them to actually do due diligence to it. Because if the vaccine isn't there, well, the skill is, should we say, dormant, and it will not be used for that purpose. But if it's available, then it can be done.
I think it's interesting, even as, you know, I saw something yesterday, and even with the long line, an article that I read in Kenya, even with these directives, that it's the frontline workers and this specific groups of people that are being asked to come out and get this vaccine now, other people are still going to line up at wherever they can to get this vaccination. It's happening right now.
They will. So long as people hear that there's vaccination taking place, they will go. The 58, they will have heard it, but they will go. Because there are people who want to be vaccinated. There are people who take it seriously. Remember yesterday I was mentioning that among the considerations that has to be borne in mind with regards to a health exercise like vaccinations is there are people who have a wait and see attitude. They are not going to rush to get vaccinated. They want to watch, they want to see, especially against the backdrop of all the issues that came out of Europe. Oh, blood clots here, this, there. People want to be safe. And so they will. Now, when it is clear that there is nothing wrong, nothing untoward, my friend, the numbers of people who will be seeking vaccination, it'll just shoot up, literally.
It will shoot up.
Literally.
You know, and the question is then, will there be enough for when these numbers shoot up? Will we be ready to give more and more people? Because I've looked at stories coming out of South Africa, Rwanda, Nigeria. Everybody can go to a center, get your vaccination. There's nothing like these people first. We realize that these people first actually causes a bit of a problem because everybody's kind of like, okay, so when do we go? How can we go about and get this? It's been opened up in some countries. I think it's about time it's opened up here and let people just go and get vaccinated.
But remember,
the danger of it expiring in June.
True, but remember I also mentioned that sometimes the government has to be given credit and has to be given a little leeway in understanding that they don't always communicate effectively. In fact, they most certainly don't always communicate effectively on certain things. And even when they have the opportunity to explain things, it's not explained in a way that would make the would-be consumer of this particular product comfortable. The truth is, they need to figure out how best to do this thing. This is a condition that affects everyone, not children, not just a specific group of people, everyone. And it's airborne.
Yep.
And right now, with news coming out of places where research is conducted, anecdotally first, we are yet to find whether it's true, is that we in Kenya have the Brazilian, South African, and the UK variant. We will discuss that at a later stage.
It's a cocktail of...
Yes. But you see, again, remember, this is a living organism that is fighting to stay alive. Huh? So what do you think it's going to do? It's going to lay dormant and wait for us to provide it with something that will extinguish itself? No, it won't.
Of course not. It's going to don a different outfit so that it can become, more adaptable.
It's fighting back.
It is.
And fighting back is mutation. Mutation is what we're now seeing. Revamped, renewed, and infinitely more harmful.
All the more reason why, in my opinion, that it is time to open it up to everybody and let everybody at least get this first line of defense, this first line of protection, as opposed to waiting. So, I mean, look at it, CT. 530,000 vaccines available right now. 64,000 people have taken it.
Very true, but remember, they wanted those who are at most risk to be vaccinated first.
But they're not coming now.
Yes, they are not, but you can understand that thinking. If your frontline workers are not vaccinated first, then even as you roll it out and as you look into ways of curtailing the spread of this infection, surely you haven't dealt with the actual a point at which you can deal with the problem hasn't been managed.
Right.
So what exactly are you going to be doing? Okay, people are vaccinated, but what about those who need it most? You see, I'm looking at it from the government perspective, and they're juggling with some serious issues here. But indeed, if it appears like this isn't possible as they want it, then they should open it up to other groups. For instance, the media. The media are also frontline workers.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Still, with all these numbers that we're talking about, just over 110,500 COVID deaths on the continent of Africa, right? So if we're looking at global figures, global deaths are at 2.7 million. The deaths on the continent are 110,500. We're looking at the highest deaths having taken place in South Africa with 52,000 deaths. The next highest after that is in Egypt with 11,000 deaths. Well, you have countries like Western Sahara where also maybe their reporting is actually quite wanting with a recording of 1 death. Right. So still, if we're looking at global numbers and doing a comparative analysis around the globe, the incidences of COVID, the incidences of death by COVID on the continent are low. However, even if we look at numbers like that, it doesn't mean that we need to, rest on the ropes. There is still a significant threat. And the numbers that we are seeing right now in Nairobi, for example, 57.5 positivity rate in the county of Nairobi. We're looking at a national positivity rate of 23%, 5 times what it needs to be at. And we're looking at more and more numbers on a daily basis and higher numbers of deaths in the country. Definitely, it's time. I think the time to be extremely careful passed some days ago. If we're going to look at tightening of measures, it needed to have happened like yesterday. We'll take a look at this and other stories as we continue with Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. In the room this morning with myself, Ndoko, and CT Muga. Eric Latif will be back with us on Monday. So in a minute, we're going to say hello to you who's online. Stepping into the room with us, we'll say hello to you and hope you say hi back to us. We're going to look at the weather in a bit and then look at what the skies will look like this Friday.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a milli. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather
All right, we're
with
looking at
Spice
mostly clear
FM.
conditions in Nairobi this morning at 18. It's going to go to highs of 28 today, coming back down to lows of 15. Clear conditions in Nyeri at 15, highs of 28 and lows of 10. We're looking at lows of 12, mostly clear in Nakuru at 19. It's also clear in Eldoret at 19, going to highs of 26 today. Highs in Kisumu will be recorded at 31, clear at 22. Opening up Friday morning. Clear conditions in Kakamega at 20, highs of 33 and lows of 15 today. It'll also go to highs of 33 in Mombasa, where it's raining right now at 26. Clear conditions on the other side at Malindi and 26, highs of 33 and lows of 27 today. Looking at mostly clear skies in Kampala at 18, highs of 28, 26 and light rain in Dar es Salaam this morning, highs of 32 and lows of 26. Temperatures dropping slightly in Johannesburg. Partly cloudy conditions going to highs of 22 and lows of 12 today. Mostly clear in Lagos at 26, highs of 32, highs of 31 and mostly clear in Kinshasa this morning. Beijing still quite warm and sunny at 15, highs. It'll drop down and go to 14, lows of 9 today. Clear conditions in Paris at 4, highs of 15 and come back down to lows of 4, and it's cloudy at 10 in London, highs of 11 and lows of 4. It's still Thursday night in New York, mostly cloudy conditions at 11. It'll go to highs of 20 and lows of 12.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room.
Wherever you're tuned in around the country, 94.4 in Nairobi, Mombasa on 87.9, Nakuru on 96.0, Eldoret 96.7, it's 90.9 in Nyeri, Kisumu at 102.5 and Malindi at 97.7. The live streams are up on Facebook, Twitter and this morning SpiceFM KE is how you can get in YouTube as well. And so we're saying hello to you this morning as you've tuned into the room. Nduoko and CT Muga. Eric is away for today. Back with us on Monday. Washira Wilfred says, good morning, CT and Ndu. Tuned in from some places away from the great Gishugu. Okay. Jose Minor and Dohio is tuned in this morning. He says, morning Spice FM team. Now Apata loud and clear, tuned in from Malindi. Good morning. Hennepin County is tuned in, and that's where Waterman Jeffrey is this morning. Robertson Bogo tuned in. Spice team well tuned in from Mombasa. Wish you all a happy Friday. To you too, sir. John Rory, good morning. Tuned in from Mombasa to Kitale. Oh, wait a minute. You're tuned in and you're on the way from Mombasa to Kitale. Wow, it's going to be a long journey, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Have a safe trip and a good Friday. Muhebwa A. Vidal says, tuned in to the Situation Room from Kampala in Uganda. And Yatich Cook Patrick is tuned in this morning from Nakuru. Well, good morning, everybody, and we're glad to have you in the room this morning. Join us for these great conversations that we will have today. And we can't forget that Beta Ashley is tuned in from Machakos this morning. CT, today's proverb.
Yes. It's a proverb that I have been mulling over for some time. I actually liked it. She is beautiful. She has love, understanding. She respects herself and others. Everyone loves her and honors her. She is a goddess.
Sheesh. Okay. You're celebrating somebody.
No, this particular proverb was something I had intended to speak out during the World Women's Week. And if you recall, I was absent.
Yes.
Yes. Now, during that absence, the proverb didn't go away. I simply kept it. And I thought today, Friday, would be a good day for me to bring it out.
I think it's fantastic, and never too late a day to celebrate women, no?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. We'll mull over that some more later. But for now, let's look at what's going on in the headlines. Many stories, things happening.
Very many things happening in the headlines. Many. Where to begin? Where to end? You know, I would love to actually pick up our dailies and come across a day when literally all our headlines aren't talking about something political. This is one of the reasons why perhaps I like looking at the Business Daily.
Yeah.
They don't always have the headlines as something political. Okay? Today's headline is something very interesting. Remember, we were talking to the CEO of Kenya Airways yesterday?
Yes.
And he says that one of the things that Kenya Airways will likely need in order for it to stabilize and to be a viable enterprise is the sum total of 55 billion Kenya shillings.
Yes.
If I look at what Kenya Airways does in terms of just flying people from point A to B and what it does to our national image and the pride, it's called the pride of Africa, and it's for a very good reason. I would argue that this is something worth looking into. However, even as I say this, there's something that must be considered. The government has had moves. It's been reported in the papers that the government has wanted to take over the airlines. All right? Now, we know that the government really isn't in the business of doing business. And when they try to, they're not really usually very good at it.
No.
So the details of how it is, because no one is going to fork out 55 billion shillings and not have a huge stake or a big say.
It'll come with conditions.
Yes, it always comes with conditions. Even when we borrow money from other people, it comes with conditions. But the question is, will these conditions be conditions that make it possible for the business to grow and become what it once was, the pride of Africa?
I mean, it's clear that it needs to happen, but I think anybody who's going to come and, throw in their investment there, regardless of who it is going to ask that things don't continue to operate in the manner in which they were operating previously. Or like you said, yes, going to have a stake in it. But it's clear that it's not going to be business as usual, especially if you're going to throw in some needed a shot in the arm for them to get afloat. It's not just going to be business as usual.
No, in fact, this particular article is pegged to an interview that the Business Daily tells us arose from an interview that SpiceFM had with the CEO, Mr. Kilavuka.
Yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
And he actually mentioned in terms of dollars, he said $500 million.
Yes, he did.
Yes. So that is what this particular article is pegged to. And I think it should be looked into seriously.
Absolutely.
And if there are other people, partners who perhaps are also in the same business and are interested, then one should, I'm sure they're looking into it.
Yep.
But so let me just state the obvious. They should continue looking into it.
They should continue looking into it because it's important. I think it was very clear that if they're going to survive, this is what they need to happen in the next 1 year. Okay, so let's look at other stories making the headlines today. The scandal of the KCPE test is lifted from a published book. Okay. Teachers have raised serious concerns on the credibility of the just concluded Standard 8 national exams after it emerged that nearly half of the questions in the English language paper had been lifted from 2 books and a test that had been sold to a number of schools in February. An analysis yesterday revealed that the Kenya National Examinations Council lifted an entire section from a Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exam prediction paper that was set and sold to schools by Distinction Education publishers. The same test appears in Distinction KCPE English, a book published by the same company, raising questions on KNEC's attention to detail in setting exams. The title is not among the course books approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, but it is bought and used by schools that can afford it. In the KCPE prediction close test, the section that was lifted, candidates were given a passage that had some keywords omitted for them to fill to test their language skills. In the KCPE test done on Monday, candidates were then given the same test to choose the best alternatives from the given choices. The section in question carried 15 marks, a substantial amount in a national exam that determines secondary school admissions. The Nation established that several schools across the country, the majority of them private, bought and administered the KCPE prediction exam in February, giving them an advantage over their public counterparts that could not afford the test. So, Nation chooses to call it a scandal of the KCPE test lifted from a public book, and then is asking questions in terms of, so what does this mean if then these questions were not guided but just simply lifted from another course text, put into the exam, and then finds out that schools had previously bought this particular prediction exam. So in essence, they were ready for this particular part of the exam. As in they were ready because they knew it was coming. And public schools who could not afford to buy this prediction test then were at a disadvantage.
If we're going to discuss this, the thing that must be considered about our exams, remember, for the longest time, the Kenya National Examination Council, when I say longest time, I mean it's present now, but there were people and there are people who are called examiners. These are people who are trained to actually examine these. Now, KCPE is different in this sense. With the exception of the composition, many of the exams will not be marked physically by human beings. So, yes. So, there is security in the marking. You cannot say, so and so like this, didn't like this, didn't like
right,
the other.
Okay.
But in an earlier time, that was the case. Now, the other thing that we had people who set exams. Some of them were from among people who had been teachers. Some were teachers. But schools that had been in existence for a longer time had an advantage over many other schools in that many of the cadre of people who were examiners were teachers in some of these schools.
Yeah.
I say this because I myself was once an examiner. I was even a team head. Now, when you mark, you have a very clear understanding of what it is that is required. So your students have an advantage because you can't know what is going to come, but you know exactly how to present your responses to the questions. Yes.
Well, I mean, so in this case, this is what's happening, Siti, because you know what responses...
You do know.
If
you're an examiner, you do know.
Yeah, but in this case, this test was bought in February by private schools and was used during teaching in class. So it's as though they were pre-prepared for this because they knew it was going to come in the exam. So now between KNEC, private schools, did they then lift this particular test and put it in the exam intentionally? Or was it just part of the examination, knowing that a certain part of the exam takers would have been prepared for it? And I think that is where the scandal is coming about.
Let me talk to you as somebody who was an educator and an examiner. There is a limit to how many questions you can actually ask. There always is. It's not that there's an endless supply because the subject matter in the curriculum is also limited. This is what you teach. Now, you can go back into history and look at what has been examined and the way it has been examined, and you can make a fairly accurate prediction as to what is coming next. By the way, it is not really rocket science. Any teacher, whether their weight in salt or whatever commodity you want, can actually work out and figure this is what I think will be covered now. It's something teachers do all the time. All right? As for the thing being lifted, it's being presented as though it was lifted. I am waiting for further evidence to show that indeed it was lifted. Because, remember, that's why I gave this background of people who teach and have been examiners have an advantage. But any teacher who is not even an examiner, but bothers to go back into the history of exams that have been taught or have been brought to the students, can tell that over time this is what has been examined and this is what is likely to be examined. Okay?
It brings about a possible turmoil between private schools and public schools, because then it would appear that public schools then were not privy to this information and then could not prepare their students in time because they knew this is what was going to come.
But this is what is being presented. When teachers teach throughout the year, that's what they're doing. They're preparing the students.
Yeah.
Yes,
they are.
And the truth of the matter is, private schools have some advantage in that, first of all, the classes have fewer students. teacher-student ratio. Some even have an assistant teacher. They have an opportunity to give more attention to the teacher, as opposed to public schools, which look like public lectures, where the class is jam-packed.
Full.
Yes. So teaching in the absence of examining and giving a response is usually fairly futile, because the students don't get an opportunity to understand what they know and what they don't know.
What they don't know.
Yes, precisely.
All right, we're going to take a short break and take a look at what's happening on the roads this Friday morning and see how crazy it might or might not be. Keep it here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Are you a wholesale buyer of farm produce looking for constant and reliable supply of produce? Introducing Vuna, the wholesale marketplace for fresh produce. A joint project by Standard Group's Farm Kenya in partnership with Agit. With the Vuna Market, you can say goodbye to uncertainties of procuring produce in bulk. Vuna Market connects wholesale buyers to a network of verified farmers working through reliable bulking centers countrywide with the benefit of standard weights, measures, and packaging, as well as transparent pricing for agricultural commodities that can be viewed at www.vuna.co.ke. Download the Vuna app for free today from the Google Play Store to have constant access to a consistent and transparent marketplace at the palm of your hand. And if you are a farmer looking to supply your produce at competitive prices, you can get in touch with the closest bulking center near you by emailing us on farmkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Traffic.
Things are moving very well on Thika Road this morning. This has been the week for Thika Road. No drama whatsoever. Hopefully it stays that way for some time. Well, you can only cross your fingers and wait and see. Coming to the CBD this morning actually looks pretty good coming out of Thika Road. Mombasa Road, on the other hand, is very slow. Unfortunately, there's an accident right around General Motors, and so that's going to slow things down considerably. All the way through then to Nyeri Stadium roundabout, and then onto Huru Highway, out to the CBD into Westlands. Looking very slow this morning, guys. We're going to keep an eye on this and see how it opens up in a bit. It is Friday, so a lot of things going on. There's also outbound traffic today coming out of Westlands, out in the direction of Kangemi. Okay, the road between Fig Tree and Museum Hill not working this morning. We know also that the slip road between Chiromo and Wayakiwe is not working as well. It's been closed off, so don't plan to use that one this morning. All right, let's take a look at Jogger Road. It's slow getting into the city right now, but not too bad as you get then onto Landis Road and into the CBD. Take a look at Ngong Road as well as Langata Road. It's looking pretty good. Bagadi Way slow, but you'll be fine. SpiceFM KE, get in touch with us on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's see what it looks like in your neck of the woods. We want to keep things moving this Friday morning and remain sane at the same time.
Spice up your life. Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room.
Where are you from this morning. This is Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. If you're tuned in Nairobi this morning, you're on 97.7, and we take a skip western, Kisumu 102.5. The live streams are up, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter this morning, and we're taking a look at what's going on in the papers this morning. Nduoko and CT Muga in the room this morning, and continuing with the headlines. New One Kenya Alliance promise. Now, it has a name, CT. It has faces. It had faces before, but now it has a name. Charting the future. The future of Kenya, according to these folks, is in their hands. Buoyed by by-election victories, the newfound One Kenya Alliance of Kalonzo, Gideon, Mudavadi and Wetangula declares it is the alternative of hope and outlines its plans to popularize the union. Okay? Now, 3 national super alliance coalition partners have given the strongest hint of their plans to cut relations with Raila Odinga's Orange Democratic Movement. Yesterday, Wiper Democratic Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya of NASA announced a partnership with KANU chair Gideon Moi ahead of the 2022 general election. The 4 announced they would work together under a new outfit known as the One Kenya Alliance. The alliance is packaging itself as the alternative to Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, while at the same time endearing itself to President Uhuru Kenyatta. They're not the only ones. We saw that Coast also has some kind of Uhuru Kenyatta endearment, but we'll look at that later. The move seems to put a brake on Raila's 2022 presidential ambitions and also targets Ruto, who is seeking to succeed President Kenyatta. The announcement of the One Kenya Alliance comes after a series of public spats pitting the party's leadership and their allies, which saw ANC's Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala fired by ODM as the deputy minority leader and replaced by Kilifi Senator Stuart Madzayo. The reverberations from yesterday's announcement could have consequences in the race to succeed Kenyatta. According to Mudavadi during the press conference yesterday, we stand here to tell Kenyans that if you thought there was no alternative, please start putting it in your mind that there is an alternative of hope in this country. Senator Gideon sought to allay fears that their alliance was built on quicksand. We did what skeptics thought we could not. We will do more in the coming days. He affirmed that their outfit would start countrywide rallies when there are no rallies, at least for the next 15 days.
Please let the man say his piece. Okay, read the piece that the man has stated.
Okay, but there are no rallies because of COVID. But I'm just saying.
Did he set a timeline to when it is these rallies are to begin?
Okay, let me just finish what he said.
Thank you.
He affirmed that their outfit would start countrywide rallies to popularize the alliance once the ban on political rallies is lifted.
Thank you.
The outfit was first unveiled during the campaigns for by-elections in Kabuchai and Matungu constituencies and the Machakos senatorial seat. The leaders pledged to support their respective candidates in their backyards. So there's an alternative. 1, you thought that we couldn't do it. 2, and it's not just Raila or Ruto. 3. Those are the messages that are coming out from these fellas now.
Every time some formation of what we in the media refer to as an alliance is formed, it's with a great deal of fanfare. It's as though it's happening for the first time ever. It isn't. And if we look at the formation of political parties, it's usually for the same thing, really. Okay? And it's a good thing. In fact, a 4th alliance should come around.
Why not?
People who now want to say that our focus is on ensuring that we do not pretend that we are forming a national alliance as we're a tribal alliance. Wonderful. Some may even come up and say, as us, we want to bring all religions together. Instead of just looking at political parties, we want to bring all people of all faiths together under the One Alliance Religious Party, whatever, or One Amalgamation Religious Party, whatever it is. It is a good thing. By all means, let them form these alliances, but let them also, please, pause for a second and understand that the citizens of this country are not idiots. We understand exactly what is going on. We know very clearly that political positioning is what takes place in this country. It used to be with every electoral cycle a year or 2 before the election. This one, we finished one election and we were at it.
Yeah, I don't even think the election had finished before
yes,
this.
And we are at it. And we are still continuing to be at it. So, Politicians are just doing what they do and trying to pepper it and wording it as though we, the Wananchi, are set to now benefit from this newfangled outfit. And they're going to do things that had hitherto not been done, and they're going to produce results that will make the lives of the common Wananchi so much better. Not true.
Well, that's what they're saying that they're going to do. So
they
now,
won't.
Okay, I know we're going to talk about this later, City, but it's like you're already saying out of the blocks that what they're saying is not true.
Just do your thing. Of course, I'm saying it's not true.
They're offering an alternative of hope.
All politicians offer hope.
What has been there before, Kenyans may have thought that it was over.
Right.
Life as they know it was over. But here they are in this new packaged, shiny, bright alliance. This is the hope that you now have for the country.
Let me just tone it down a bit and say, okay, they're offering hope. The individuals that we're talking about have been in politics from the time they could run to the time now when they're almost all limping. Okay? Now you're telling me they're the ones who are going to introduce something new. What is it in their lives that they have done that indicates, even in the slightest, that these are people who one can rely on to bring in new hope? Again, we will look at it in greater detail later. Let them do the political thing. Let them talk about what they want to do. And let that speech join the long queue of hopeful, supposed speeches that politicians make to citizens every single day.
I want to hear almost like you're about to say unfulfilled promises.
Well, I assumed that promises by politicians by their very nature are unfulfilled. That is why I'm not even mentioning it.
Okay, so there's now something else. Okay, let me just add to that because I know it'll come. We'll talk about it at 8. But Raila and Ruto read from the same script. This is kind of like it's the headline on the front page of the Standard today, and it's almost as though they're coming together without not really coming together, not really acknowledging it. The president's endorsement of a coast party provokes what appears to be unity of interest between two erstwhile rivals, one keen to retain his hold on the region and the other dying to claim it. With the pair increasingly isolated, it may take more than posturing to craft a real alliance. And let me read you a couple of quotes. According to DP William Ruto, many people think we have differences with Raila. These are only political. Where I agree with him is that we both believe in national parties. His other colleagues don't. They believe in tribal parties. That's what DP William Ruto says. According to ODM Chair Mbadi, what is going to come out of 2022 is not yet clear. There are going to be a lot of realignments, but what we, ODM, want to repeat is that any formation without Raila or Ruto will not win the presidency. Kotu Chair Atwoli says Uhuru does not have any plan to undermine anybody. His focus is BBI. The problem is people who want immediate results. Politics is not like that. It is like rain. When it pours, the water will just find its own course. And this is all in relation to the story that's then carried on page 6, that two political heavyweights will be gravitating towards each other after they separately ran into headwinds in their relationship with the president and his allies. Yesterday, Deputy President William Ruto suggested he was open to a political alliance with ODM leader Raila Odinga in the run-up to the 2022 general election. Ruto and Raila worked together during the 2007 general election. Raila's brother Oburu Oginga earlier said this month that there was nothing stopping the two politicians from working together. The trigger for the fresh political posturing seems to be a push for regional parties, including one for the coast region, which is set to be done next week, which the president reportedly backed during a meeting with 3 governors from the area. Yesterday, Ruto claimed that some powerful individuals are pushing for formation of tribal political parties, apart from a larger political scheme to frustrate his presidential ambition and that of ODM leader Raila Odinga by blackmailing them into backing certain regional leaders.
Well, if you're talking of unity, let me also talk about disunity. Page 5 of the Nation, coast split after Uhuru meeting.
Sheesh, okay.
Yes, and I'm going to quote here Naomi Sidi, okay? Naomi Sidi is the founder and Secretary General of Umoja Summit Party, okay? And this is what she had to say. The push for regional unity is unstoppable, with or without Mr. Kingi Joe or Omvuria, okay? In fact, talks on forming an alliance are at an advanced stage. Lawyers have been involved to make it happen. At the end of the day, all these are good political moves for people who want and seek political power and position. However, what I don't hear with great clarity is what it is the Mwananchi seeks to benefit. Apart from them saying they will do it, okay, fine, you will do it. But this vehicle that you're going to use, the structure that you're going to use to make these things happen, it's not a reporting issue here. If they made that the center of their conversation, it would be reported. It is not being reported. But what Naomi Sidi is saying here, I understand with it very clearly. These are discussions that have taken place for the longest time.
Yep.
And the thinking is that these politicians come up and now they want to hijack it as though it's theirs.
It's theirs.
And some of us have been at this thing for the longest time possible. Now, when you talk about tribal parties, there's nothing like one tribe at the coast. It is not so.
There are many.
Oh man, let's start with the Mijikenda.
There are many.
There are many. So, let us see how this thing rolls. But we'll be talking about it more, won't we?
Yes, we will. We'll be talking about it more in not too long from now. We are looking at what's going on in the headlines this morning in the Situation Room. It is Kenya's biggest conversation. We're going to take a break now, come back and continue looking at what's going on in the papers.
Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
The realest and craziest couple are now on your screens. Terrence and Chebi are bringing you top celebrities and trendsetters on Thursday Night Live. It's double the fun and double the laughter every Thursday at 10 p.m. on KTN Home.
Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room.
It is a 12 minutes to 7 o'clock, and we still continue by looking at what's going on in the papers this morning, rather what's going on with news around the country and indeed around the world. Now, CT, Somali immigrants face deportation.
They do. Who says this?
Now, looking at the details of this story, it's a bit sticky. We saw some videos coming out and the people are saying, raise your weapons, do this or the other thing. Somalis have been mistreated for too long. Okay, so let's look at this particular story. Somali immigrants living in Nairobi and people suspected of funding terrorism could be deported or have their properties requisitioned in the coming days as Kenya continues to flex its muscle amid deteriorating relations between it and Somalia. The decision, which is awaiting approval by the National Security Council, comes as the nation learned that Kenya is reaching out to countries that have influence over Somalia to help mediate between them. Among the countries that have been approached by Kenya, according to security sources, is Qatar, which has in recent years taken a prominent role in positioning itself as the main backer of Somali President Mohamed Farmajo. Somalia cut diplomatic ties with Kenya in December last year, accusing Nairobi of meddling in her internal affairs. Since then, everything has been going downhill before suddenly escalating last Monday after Kenya decided it will not take part in the hearings of a maritime dispute case with Somalia at the International Court of Justice. With an amicable solution in the border dispute unlikely to be found in the near future, and Somalia standing on a decision to claim the resource-rich 160,000 square kilometer territory in the Indian Ocean, Nairobi has decided to play hardball. We heard CS Matiang'i say the other day, Dadaab and Kakuma will be shut down. And if they don't shut it down, everybody who's there will then be taken, rather 270,000 Somali refugees will be taken to the Somalia border. What will be done with them thereafter, we do not know. Now, after that, we now see that Somali immigrants who are suspected of funding terrorism in the country also will be deported. This tiff is going on. Yes, relations are deteriorating, but we see that now Nairobi has decided, okay, you know what? This is where you're going to press us. This is now where we are going to press you. And in a week, 2 of these announcements having been made, it's not any small change when it comes to this currency of that's being used in this diplomatic tiff. Though I think it's graduating a little bit beyond a tiff now.
Actually, look, the issue of repatriating people who are our neighbors and brothers from Somaliland who are living here as refugees, that has always been there. And the understanding has been they feel that they foment terrorist movements, attacks, etc. However, if you look into what is reported in the nation, and what has been, again, in the public domain, but yet not talked about in a great deal, is we are dealing with local tiffs.
Yep.
Disagreements, whether it's Jubaland, Somaliland, the president. Some of these discussions revolve around a former security minister, a gentleman by the name of Abdul Rashid Hassan Abdi Nur, alias Abdul Rashid Janan.
Okay.
Now, this is a person who has his own troops and people who are loyal to him. And it is being stated that he has been hiding in Mandera for the longest time and they wanted him back. But it is also being assumed that his presence and the people and his followers can tilt the political situation in Somalia either which way. Then there are discussions of President Samajo and his Somali armed forces bringing troops together. And the thinking is that they would be heading towards where? Kismayo.
Kismayo.
Now, this automatically puts the Amazon groups who are in Kismayo at risk. So the discussions we're having here, forget the maritime border. That thing can be resolved.
There's some real issues.
Yes, there are real issues. But let's take it a notch further. And this is the thing about these borders that the colonies created for us. We have an entire community of people who live either in Garissa or who lived in Mandera who have relatives in the geographical area called Somaliland. And there's a thinking among some people that these are people who have a voice within the government of Kenya and they're the ones who are having a say in what's happening internally in Somali. It's like saying that if you look at the Samia who are in Kenya, okay, they're more populous in Uganda, or the Pokot, who are also on both borders, or the Maasai, who are on both borders of Kenya and Tanzania, that group, the residents of the country and the citizens of one country are playing politics to influence the politics of another country. This discussion has been going on for some time now. But what we're seeing is what the government does every once in a while when a disagreement suddenly gets to a point where they say, okay, fine, why don't we use the hostages that we have?
Let's use them as a bargaining chip here.
This is what happens all the time.
Because if you don't sort it out, your people who are here within our borders, we can ask them to leave. Influencers or not, we can ask them to leave.
Yes.
And we will put a bit of pressure on them or, finua.
And you see, what this is telling you is not just people will move. We know you have business interests in our country. We even know the people who manage these businesses for you. Rest assured that they will be affected. Every time this game of dominoes begins, is usually one country recalls their ambassador. Then the other one retaliates by recalling the ambassador. It's like a game of marbles among children.
Sure, okay? It is. And then let me see that what I have that is of use to you and see if I can topple that over within our boundaries and see how it hurts you.
Yes. So they're speaking to each other. And in this case, what I think we are hearing is that we expected you to support us on certain issue and you're not supporting us.
And you're not.
So we are going to kick a proper ruckus and we are going to use what we have and we're telling them, okay.
Until somebody listens.
If that's the way you want to go, let us tell you what we are now going to do.
Can I tell you something else really quickly? MPs are seeking better use of the budget in the new law.
Are they now?
I'm telling you, it's like a wonderful thing. A parliamentary committee wants the National Treasury barred from submitting to the National Assembly a supplementary budget within 2 months to the end of a financial year. I mean, why would you do that when, we're going into a new budgetary period?
Yes.
To actualize this, the Public Accounts Committee wants the Public Finance Management Act amended. The committee, chaired by Ugunja MP Opio Wandanyi, says in its report to the National Assembly that the supplementary budget submitted to the House within 2 months to the end of the financial year has been prone to unnecessary expenditure. I mean, really, did you not know we needed this money before? It further notes that this practice has led to the underutilization of the approved budget by approximately 8.5% for the past 5 years. The under expenditure on recurrence was due to additional funds that were provided in supplementary estimates that were approved by Parliament but could not be utilized before the end of a financial year. The PAC report, which now awaits debate and approval by the MPs, covers the audited accounts of the national government by the Office of the Auditor General for the 2017-2018 financial year. And so they are saying what we are doing is going to make sure that we can use the budget better and stop all this thing, underutilization of the budget. The year has come to an end. Supplementary budget comes in sometime in May, and we have a budget reading in July. We cannot have this anymore. And so let's use it better, and we'll put it into law so that this nonsense that has been going on before comes to an end.
Well, words.
270 billion shillings. There's some numbers for you. The amount of money that was underutilized in the 2017-2018 financial year.
Well, at least we are getting an inkling as to attempts by our lawmakers to give us the impression they're actually doing some work for us. Good.
It's an attempt to show that perhaps. Is that what you said?
It's words. Words. I wait to see the actions that follow the words.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see if this actually happens.
Yes, it is. Before we come to the end of this, you see, if you look at the magazine in The Nation, there's an article there that I think one needs to perhaps give a little more consideration. Headline, students stressed and depressed. They said campus life would be fun, adventurous and easy. That was just part of the truth. What is being highlighted and what is being spoken of is how difficult it is to actually be a student in, the university. And when we talk about difficulties here, it's not just a question of getting there. By the time you have qualified to get to the university, it means you do understand what it is that should happen, okay? But now there's the question of, will you be able to eat? Can you afford to eat, okay? What meals do you eat and what don't you eat because you need to attend a class? Where do you stay? It's a never-ending story. So instead of studying, it's like you're being put in this position where you are struggling to actually just survive.
To be alive.
Yes, as a student. And so does that not automatically put your learning process into jeopardy?
For sure. So the very thing that you went to school to do then is jeopardized because you're looking for means of survival. Are we looking at rampancy of this around the country?
Yes, it is. But even more significantly, what perhaps causes even further stress is when you realize that when you finish whatever study, when you come to the end and you actually qualify and you're given a degree certificate, it doesn't really amount to you getting a job, which is what you hoped it would get you when you first went to university. So being in the university, the prospects where previously they were full of hope and pleasant anticipation, the learning situation is stressful. The anticipation of what is to come is even more stressful. Yes.
Some difficult moments that students have to live in. And I know at some point we were trying to figure out if they were going to be able to pay their fees for this current semester because of this whole, drama between HELB and the releasing of money from Treasury and etc. There was already a mess there. So some students were not able to eat, were not able to pay for their accommodation, could not even now sit for their exams. We need to look into that and find out what's going on, but it seems to be a mess here.
By the way, it's in all our universities. I would argue public even as well as private. One could argue that it's a matter of what is happening in the country economically, but these are problems that the universities have had for quite some time. Perhaps now it's being highlighted and should be given more attention, but again, this focuses on the mental health that the institutions are able to afford. Or should I say the mental ill health that they are affording. Yes, our students.
We're coming around 7 o'clock. We're coming into the hour. Keep it here.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right.
traffic.
Friday morning traffic is actually not too terrible. It's looking good coming off of Thika Road into the CBD and actually outbound on Thika Road as well. Quite some traffic headed in that direction, but nothing too crazy. Mombasa Road, we saw that accident that happened just before General Motors, right around General Motors, slows things down a little bit. Speaking of accidents, there unfortunately is another one that happened at Kangunda Road near the Kayole Junction. The road is completely blocked. Avoid at all costs. If you don't have to go in that direction, please do not. That's Kangunda Road near the Kayole Junction. The road is absolutely blocked. Don't use that and use an alternative if you can. It seems they're becoming a menace, these road accidents, over the last couple of days. We need to watch out for that. Coming out of Westlands, outbound, also we do have some traffic headed in the Kangemi direction, so watch out for that. Coming into town, you can use the Red Hill bypass. That has no problems whatsoever. Southern bypass, Eastern bypass, Northern bypass, looking pretty good this morning. We'll take a look in about half an hour and see what it looks like. What does it look like where you are having problems? Tell us. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Watch out for Mombasa Road, especially at the Likoni interchange this morning. We'll take a look at what it looks like in a short bit.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Indeed, it is the only way to start your day. This is the Situation Room. You tuned in this morning with myself, Nduoko, and CT Muga. Wherever you're tuned in from, in Nairobi on 94.4, Mombasa 87.9, Malindi is tuned in on 97.7, and Kisumu on 102.5, 90.9 in Nyeri, Eldoret on 96.7, Nakuru on 96.0, and Mombasa on 87.9. The live streams are up as well, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. And KTN Home, your radio experience on TV begins now. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, and we are looking at issues around the country and indeed around the world. But one big one, and we've talked of alliances. 2 alliances yesterday came up and said something. But let's start with the political one this morning. Before we do that, we always start the hour with the proverb from City Muga.
She is beautiful. She has love, understanding. She respects herself and others. Everyone loves her and honors her. She is a goddess.
She is. It is spilling out those accolades for women today. Remembering women on the 26th of March is all good. I think it's a good thing.
Indeed.
It is. All right. So it's been a minute before we looked at what's going on politically in this country. And it's also been a minute since anybody said anything out loud. So the last couple of days, we've seen a few things happening there. Talk of political shift in the coast. Talk of individuals who would seem to have been significant moved here and there. And then uproar and furor about those moves. And then yesterday, even though we had seen the faces, now we have a name. The new One Kenya Alliance and its promise for Kenyans. If we're looking at exactly what they have said and what they have said they will do, these are the key messages. And right off the bat, I think it's very important to know at this point whether Kenyans actually feel, we've been promised a Messiah. Canaan, promised land. These are words that we've heard over and over and over again. Are we finally at the brink? Are we at the cusp? Is there a shift that is happening? But, okay, key messages that have come from this alliance as of yesterday. We did what skeptics thought we could not do. We will do even more in the coming days. And that's from Baringo Senator, who is also the KANU chair, Gideon Moi. We want Kenyans to have hope. We want Kenyans to see hope during these hard economic times of COVID-19. We want Kenyans to rally together so that going into the future, we can work collectively to deal with the challenges we may face. That's according to ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi. This new alliance is taking shape. We are cognizant of the fact that the NASA coalition is still in existence, but this one is clear that this is what we ought to do. And this is according to Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. So they came together yesterday and they've given it a name, and it is the One Kenya Alliance. And they have said that this is the answer. You see all this drama that you've been seeing in the last few months. You see all of this that has been going on. And the unsettling feelings politically that we have in this country. This alliance now is the answer. This alliance now is the option. One thing that they did not shy away from saying is that this is the option then in being able to remove some of the support from the hands of Raila Odinga as the ODM leader and DP William Ruto as DP William Ruto. All right. Okay. And they've said this is the option, folks. Everybody's been saying, but what option do we have? These are the loudest, these are the most popular. What options do we really have? Now they have given an option. And I think looking at this point that they've said, we want Kenyans to have hope. They are the hope for Kenya. We want Kenyans to see hope during these hard economic times. They are the lens through which Kenyans can see hope. We want Kenyans to come together and not necessarily continue to focus on tribe and economic differences and disparities, but to come together and say together we can fight the ills that have plagued us for the last however many years, and we can actually begin to move forward. And we are the vehicle upon which Kenyans can now jump upon and move us in this direction. Never been done before.
Flashback to 2002. I am reminded that in politics, you never really say die.
No?
No. And also, the most unlikely of things can happen. It's called the role of chance. You can't underestimate it, and you actually don't know when it's going to pop up its head and play a very key role in this. All right? There are very many narratives about 2002 and what transpired and the Kibaki Tosha narrative, many narratives. However, what is certain, before that election, President Kibaki was not the front runner.
No.
He wasn't. But he became president. Something also unlikely. When you look at the discussion about Ruto, Raila Odinga, 2007, 2006 going to 7. If you had 2006, that alliance wasn't in the offing. But it came to be. We are not seeing situations that haven't happened before.
Okay.
However, if we were to read from this, one of the things that an alliance does, especially when it's with people who've been on the political scene for the longest possible time, let me give the analogy of a fruit that is popular in this country. If a mango had a voice and it tells you, here I am a mango, I am ripe, eat me. People know what a mango is. They've seen the mango for the longest time. And they know the mango is not a weapon. They know it's a fruit that many people like and they eat it. So should the mango now start telling you that it is a mango and you should eat it, you then have to ask yourself,
is this really a mango?
Yes, exactly. And if it's a mango, why is it telling us what we already know?
And why is it now that it's asking to be eaten, where previously it didn't need to tell us of its ripeness? We could see and then know that we can pluck it and eat it.
We could even make some fruity liquid juices from it. We understood the main thing. We could even dry it. We had figured out how to deal with this thing. So now you're coming to tell us that you, the mango, you are now talking to us and you're telling us to do something we've been doing all along.
It's a new improved mango city. It's realizing that, maybe what's that thing they do when you graft and then you get a new kind of fruit?
Yes.
Maybe now it is the
new variety.
Yeah, new improved grafted variety of mango that you probably had not seen before.
Does it stop being a mango?
A mango, okay, sure. A mango is a mango, right?
Yes.
But then before you were used to eating pieces of mango, now we're offering you juice.
You see, this is the problem. The same tree with the same branches, grafted or otherwise, telling you the same thing. What are you likely to take from it? Are you going to get something different, or are you going to get something that you've always gotten? If you tell a mango eater that this mango is grafted, do you think they really care? If you tell them that the qualities of this mango that you need to consider, and then you give the details, they might lift up their head and say, really? For instance, when you eat this mango, what will happen to you is that bald head will stop being bald and you'll suddenly start growing hair. They'll look up and say, really? And he says, yes. If you feel that you're vertically challenged and you eat this mango which you've grafted, you can actually become taller.
Yeah.
Yes. If you eat this mango and you felt that you hadn't broadened your girth sufficiently, that your girth would be broadened, if you eat this mango, then you'll say,
But you see, what they're saying essentially is that this mango has always been here. The mango has been here, but you have not consumed it in the manner in which we would have wanted you to consume. So now here we are saying that these are the fruits that we are offering to you. Would you not just taste and see? Eat this fruit and you will see things that you had not seen before. It has been here. Who told you not to eat it? Here it is.
You're talking to people who've been eating it all along, and they can tell you a great deal about it and the variety of mangoes and even the regions where they come from. It is good when you have new political alliances. It is good because then we can see democracy at work, because we are looking at political competition. That, to me, is what is important. And any region that wants to set up a political party and drum up its people, by all means, let them, because it is good. Alliances are also good because it offers something that many people don't seem to understand. It offers stability.
My problem with a lot of these things is when Kenyans keep being dragged into these things.
Are they dragged?
No, I mean, being, when I say dragged, I mean being pulled in to be able to explain a position or to describe a position held by very few politicians. So these fellows have come together and decided that, all right, they are going to form an alliance which would essentially pull Kenya out of this dragnet of political violence, out of this, that, the other thing, and coming to say, you know what, we are the ones who are going to deliver hope. And I would love it if we can see the differences between people who want to make sure that they remain in the political eye, but then use you Kenyans all the time as the ones who actually are the ones who need help. Do you see what I mean now?
No, I actually don't.
Dragging them into the conversation.
I actually don't.
Kenyans are the ones, you're being used as the pawn here. The reason why we are coming together is to offer hope to Kenyans. It is for you that we are actually doing this. But is it?
You know why I say I don't? It's not that I don't understand the point you are making. I do. I don't because I don't want to.
Oh, okay. You're just being stubborn.
No, it isn't being stubborn. You see, it is one thing for an advocate of change to be somebody whose life has been exemplified by change. This whole group of people that we're speaking about, to a T, have been apologists for governments in power at one stage or the other, resoundingly. Some have made a career out of it. Tell me one of these people who has been an agent for change remarkably in his political career.
They will tell you that they've not been able to do it because they've not been in... I'm saying they will tell you that they've not been able to do it because they've not been in a position whereby they can make edicts, they can make declarations that will actually bring about the change once they have the machinery that is available to them by virtue of being in power. That's what they'll tell you.
All right.
That we want an opportunity. I can actually bring this change, but put me in that driver's seat and I will do it. That's what they'll tell you.
That doesn't fly. Why it doesn't fly, Ndu, is this. You don't need to be president to bring about change.
No?
If these fellows have all been legislators at one point or the other, with the exception of Mudavadi, who, when he was Minister for Finance, can narrate and tell you things that he has done. You can bring in a former vice president and tell you that in his time as vice president, he championed peace in the region. Okay? Then you will come to the others, MP, senator, even a minister at some point in time, and you ask yourself, fine, all these people at some point were representing people in their region as members of parliament. The only person who may be exempt from that may be just one individual. But as leaders, are you telling me that you cannot speak of a track record that you can actually boast about as having championed in your region in the time you have been a leader and say, I am the one who brought this bill. I am the one who championed this change.
Or I have been consistently
in doing this.
Saying this.
It's not a complicated thing. What is it? When you're a legislator, one of the things you do is you ensure that you bring about things that eventually become bills that can actually change the lives of people. Which one? What are they telling us are the vehicles and the structures they have used in the time that they have been in the political scene to bring about these changes? These changes which they now tell us now they want to bring en masse to the nation. Where? You really have to start. You have to start somewhere. We need to see the breadcrumbs somewhere to understand that there was bread to begin with.
So then I ask, is it about them or is it about you, Kenyans? Because look at the key messages that they're asking you to take home here. And amongst those, second one is, we want Kenyans to have hope. We want Kenyans to see hope during these hard times of COVID-19. We want Kenyans to rally together so that going into the future, we can work collectively to deal with the challenges we face. They want Kenyans to see that we can actually do this, and they are the vehicle through which it can actually be done. But my question still remains, is it Kenyans actually that this coming together is about? Or is it about making sure that whatever happens, they remain in some kind of political influence?
Well, they're politicians and they wouldn't be worth anything if they weren't trying to angle and find some place, some gap within which they can actually position themselves and stay relevant. That's what one expects politicians to do. But read what you just read. There's something I want to say about it. Just read it.
I read it again.
Please.
We want Kenyans to have hope. We want Kenyans to see hope during these hard economic times of COVID-19. We want Kenyans to rally together so that going into the future, we can work collectively to deal with the challenges we face.
You see, therein lies the first error they have made, and it's a colossal one. Kenyans have hope in their DNA and their hard drive. That is why these people are still political leaders. Kenyans are a hopeful people, and they are a give these people a second chance type of people. And that is why they listen to their leaders
over and over again.
Yes, and that is why they are willing to be lied to again and again in the hope that some lie may actually turn out to be true. We are a hopeful people. We are a really hopeful people. But those who aspire to political leadership unfortunately want to take this hope and dash it against some really unpleasant rocks continuously. That is what you call taking your political allies and your political bosses for granted. These politicians speak from a position of leader, not servant. Leader, boss. Us telling you. Yes, Kenyans know what they want. We don't need politicians to tell us what we want. We know what we want. We know what we need. And some of the legislation that has made it possible for leaders to actually have the means to do this exists. CDF exists. And those who've used it, we've seen the changes they've brought about. We even now have counties, more money. Man, we are even proposing to devolve this to the level of what? Wards. So, what is it that they're actually telling us? Apart from what is clearly obvious that they want to stay relevant, that is understandable. It's not something you can even damn them for. Politicians need to do that. That is why they're politicians. They want to stay relevant and they want to present themselves. But are these people really the agents for change?
Maybe they want to be in a position where they can remain accountable or be accountable for not remain. Let me just change that. Maybe they want to be in a position where they can now be the first to be accountable for their decisions and the operations in the country that Kenyans have continually asked for. That tell us what it is. Just now, tell us what it is that you have done. Tell us what it is that you want to do. Tell us what it is that you will be doing in the future. And here they are saying, all right, give us an opportunity. Would it be a chance that Kenyans would be able to take? But now, in this new alliance, what I'm actually a bit confused about is, are they going to then put out an individual who then will want to run for president? Are they going to work behind the scenes of other candidates who want to be president? Where are they throwing this support? Or from amongst them, a phoenix will rise from the ashes and they will they'll have a candidate who then will lead on this alliance of hope
No, this
for
is
Kenya.
positioning for negotiation. They understand one thing that is clear, that individually they are all non-starters. Just as one person doing it on your own, you're not going to go anywhere. Okay?
They know this.
They know this. Why do people form alliances? To ensure that you're able to move forward. If someone thought they could go it alone, why would they need an alliance? Why would they need somebody to back them? You don't. But they understand it. And it's good for our politics that people require alliances. It is good. Because you don't want situations where there is this monolith party that just rolls over, that steamrolls everyone. It isn't healthy. It's never healthy for the country, because a very small segment of the country will have their interests looked after, to the anger and to the disappointment, dismay of others. And that doesn't create a peaceful environment within which people can easily coexist. This, as it is, isn't negative. But this is something that I'm insisting on. Show us a track record. Talk to us about it. We may misunderstand it. Explain it to us. Why you feel that you are the person who is rightfully placed to be this agent for change. Tell us about it. Tell us the things you've done in your political career, the changes you brought about. Tell us. If all you've done is become an apologist, tell us how that has worked for you and how that has helped the people. But we need to be told. Telling us about the alliance, fine, serve your purpose. But you, as the individual who is in this group, what do you stand for? What have you stood for? What have you done? It must be stated now.
Are Kenyans at that point whereby anybody who's going to come along today needs to be able to then give a rundown of what it is that they've actually done politically, socially, developmentally, otherwise, even what it is that they've done in terms of sharing ideas to make sure that Kenyans then are at an advantage? At this point, you can't just show up and say, I'm the man for the job. I think those times are over. If you're showing up and saying that I am the person who is going to be able to deliver for Kenyans and to deliver for Kenya, then you're going to have to show what it is that you have done. It's not about going forward. It's not about what I will do, because we've seen those promises before over and over and over again. But what is it that I have done? And take me for my word that when I get into this position, that I will be able to do more. And you give me that opportunity based on what it is that I've done before. I dare say that there are very few people in this country who will be able to stand against that standard and say, this is what I have done. Give me an opportunity to come and do it in the future. Titi, you'd be hard-pressed to find.
Well, you must. You cannot promise change and not at the same time talk to us about what you have done to show yourself as somebody who can actually do this. I mean, surely, when people get employed, it's because there is a promise that they're able to do certain things. And that promise is exemplified by a certificate, a qualification, a track record of previous places of employment, or where they have plied their trade. It's how it works. Fine, these are politicians plying their political trade. What have you done? Simple enough question. Not difficult to explain, because each and every one of these individuals has been in the political realm for a long time.
Okay, so let's put these guys now on this platform now, and if we pick it apart and ask ourselves, these guys who've come together, because even when you're making a cake, all the ingredients have what it is that they're offering to this cake.
That's why cakes have different labels.
Right. But then at the end of the day, when you eat it, it has a uniform taste, but without one ingredient, it wouldn't have.
Yes.
So the assumption is in this alliance that everybody is bringing something to the table, and once you put it together, it's going to form something that works.
Yes.
It is important for us to look at it and say, okay, if this is the answer that Kenyans are looking for today, do they all have an ingredient that they are offering which is going to make it happen?
Off the top of my head, they're all in Kanu. Okay. Everybody in this political landscape has been in Kanu at some point, but this group of people, man, they were in Kanu for the longest really possible time.
And the question then is, what did they do?
Then and now.
Okay, so we're going to look into that. We're taking a break right now. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. We're going to ask you to call in a bit and share this conversation with us. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. We'll take a break and take a look at the weather and traffic and be back in a bit.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Whenever I shop, I simply tap.
At the fuel station, I just tap.
After enjoying my meal, I simply tap.
Everywhere I go, I just tap.
Tap.
Kenyans have discovered the fast, easy, and safe contactless way to pay. You only have to tap using your app's debit or credit card.
Tap.
Tap.
Apply for your contactless app's card today. Simply SMS the words tap and go to 22268 today. That's Africanacity. That's APSA. Daily and transaction limits along with terms and conditions apply. APSA Bank PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice.
Conditions in Nairobi this morning at 17. It'll go to highs of 28 today and lows of 14. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 17 degrees, highs of 28 and lows of 10. Mostly sunny in Nakuru at 22, highs of 28 today, lows of 12. 11 will be the low in Eldoret, where it's mostly sunny at 22. It's mostly sunny in Kisumu at 21, highs of 31 and lows of 19. 16 degrees will be the low in Kakamega. It's mostly sunny at 22, going to highs of 33 today. 33 will also be the high in Mombasa. 26 and mostly sunny right now. Mostly sunny conditions in Malindi at 27. That'll be the low, going to highs of 33. 28 will be the high in Kampala. It's mostly sunny at 19. 27 and rainy in Dar es Salaam, highs of 32 and lows of 27. It's mostly clear now in Johannesburg at 13. It'll come down to lows of 12, highs of 22, highs of 32 in Lagos, mostly clear at 26, and it's cloudy in Kinshasa at 22, highs of 31, lows of 23.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. SpiceFM.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Sarit, your city is inviting you for an Easter celebration like no other. Come over with your family and loved ones from the 2nd to the 5th of April and enjoy a special Easter-themed shopping experience with special mall deco, the Easter Village, Sana art display for the lovers of art. Enjoy unlimited live performances. Don't forget to check out the Easter Fair, where you can get great deals and offers. All this and more only at Sarit, your city. All COVID-19 protocols set by the Ministry of Health shall be observed.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a mealie. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
Traffic. Okay, so it's like a miracle because Thika Road is doing some fantastic things this morning. Everybody's wondering what the problem is. Well, there is no problem. It just means that there's not much traffic on Thika Road today. You can get in and out of the city without too much of a headache. At the Pankani underpass is a bit slow. Coming off off Kiambu Road, it's not crazy. It looks great. Mombasa Road moving along slowly. However, it's still slow all the way to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. It's going to take some time before you can get out of this one, but it's not too crazy either. Coming out of Westlands into the CBD at the University Way roundabout, looks good as well. Nyayo Stadium, however, going into the CBD out towards Westlands is slow, bumper to bumper in some parts. Hopefully that opens up and moves a little bit quicker. Langata Road looks good, as does Ngong Road. As you get to the City Mortuary roundabout, you can get onto Bagathi Way, go down the further Ngong Road or out towards Awings Kodek. It looks good, guys. The bypasses, Eastern, Southern, Red Hill, Northern, everybody's behaving very well this morning. No headache-inducing traffic just yet. Remember, industrial area, Likoni, Lunga, that is still closed. Lusaka, Bunyala still has some issues there because of the closed roads, because of construction. So watch out for that one. All right. SpiceFM KE, talk to us on Twitter. Let's know if you get stuck or if there's an incident, accident we should know about. Text on 40127.
SpiceFM. Nyeri.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishi was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here.
SpiceFM
A very Swiss
KE,
temp.
also, wherever you're tuned in around the country, Malindi is on 97.7 in the Situation Room on radio and on TV. KTN Home. It's Nduoko in the studio this morning with CT Muga. Eric Latif is away this morning. He'll be back with us on Monday. The conversation continues. And we're looking at political alliances and hope for Kenyans. CT Muga, you've been telling us that it is absolutely necessary to look at track record when it comes to future promises for governance and leadership in this country. So without a positive track record, anybody who wants to come today and says, I am the answer for you for the future, then forget it.
Please, CV. Really, that's what I'm saying. What's your CV? I mean, you have been a public figure. Now, there are things that you may have influenced, there are things you may have done that we know not of. This is an opportunity because we are really, well, let me say, I am fundamentally fatigued by just talk. Okay? Because it's not talk that's going to move this country forward. It's not talk that's going to solve. We know how good our people, how our bureaucrats are at planning and ensuring things get done. They are really excellent, world-class excellence. However, the implementation stage and the decisions around it and the part where politicians come into play, this is where the water tends to get muddied. And you find, yes, this was planned, but somehow there was some interference. There's always discussions of it. Now, if it was positive, we want to know about it. This isn't too much to ask. It's just a basic. But I'm also saying that these political alliances are good for the country. Let there be more. Let there be regional formations of parties. By all means, if people feel that their interests would be better taken care of if they have their own little outfit, and which we will call a political party, by all means, go ahead and form it.
In as much as what they're saying is offering hope to Kenyans right now, I think it's also one thing that has come out very clearly that could then point to possible political partnerships between the two individuals that they're talking about is that they want to come in and shake the political scene. This new alliance, I keep forgetting the name, needs to grow on me. The One Kenya Alliance, what they're talking about now is that they're also providing an opportunity to come in and shake up the political scene. The everlasting support that has been behind one Raila Odinga, they're saying that with this alliance, they could actually break that apart. And for some reason, they also feel that there is some significant support behind Deputy President William Ruto, who has also put himself out in the running for the presidency come 2021. So what they're saying is that them coming together, breaking the barrier of tribe, breaking the barrier of a specific political party, what they're saying is that that thing that you thought you believed in all this time, we can actually come and break it apart and give you a better option when it came to leadership and governance in this country. That it doesn't have to be the one thing that has been prescribed to you all this time in terms of any kind of political medication, but that perhaps you can use a different kind of drug and it will get you over to this wellness place.
You know,
does it make sense that they might want to topple some of the support and power that is seen in these two gentlemen of Raila Odinga and William Ruto, that they could then come through, split, and be the answer?
You know, if someone is talking from the position of change, then you really can't expect us to believe you will bring about change when all you're doing is making blanket statements. Huh? Are they telling us that they are going to revive this economy in ways that we've never seen before? Then the question will be asked, how? Are they saying that they are going to provide employment for our youth who are unemployed in ways that have been... Remember, the Jubilee government made some really, really astronomical promises about this particular aspect of employment. It hasn't
fulfilled to date.
Hasn't been done. So what do you expect from your countrymen and women who have lived in the hope that the promises that have been made by the political class will be attained, and what they have met with are constant disappointments?
Why does it have to be, why does it have to be these options only that Kenyans have to take?
Actually,
just look at it.
But those who think there are better options, why aren't they presenting themselves? This is really the question. I think
Kenyans are giving you know what? By the time people can come out and say we are the ones, maybe they do have some kind of reassurance from Kenyans that they still want them there.
Look,
why would you continually put yourself out looking for this kind of political support if you don't have an inkling or any kind of imagination that Kenyans actually want you there? The only reason why you continue putting yourself up there is because you're convinced on a very high level that Kenyans are going to keep accepting you. For the longest time, it's been the same people. Look, not even dressed as something else. Same thing, just like you're saying, same talk, same outfits, same platform, but they call it something else. But they're offering the same options to people.
It's tyranny of habit.
They pepper it with, some inspirational words here and there to make Kenyans think as though anything has changed.
Tyranny of habit.
Why are Kenyans not choosing differently?
Tyranny of habit. If you look at countries where political parties and not individuals hold sway, if you've been voting, say, Labour or Conservative or Republican or... you'll keep voting. It's not as though you sit and analyze and say, okay, so this individual, you look party. Habit. And it stems from the history of a certain individual or individuals who represented that party at a certain point in history and who brought about change. So that party is characterized by change that was brought about by those individuals. So until something else happens and people need to look at it anew. Case in point, when we had New Labour Party in the UK, the thing that stood out about the New Labour Party, people said, this party really resembles a Conservative party. It really does. But the name was Labour. So people voted Labour. And they are individuals. Remember, these are people where a party will position you. Not you saying, I want... The party figures out you are fit to be in this.
So the party chooses you.
Yes. And if they really want you, they'll go to what they call a safe seat. A place where they know they're guaranteed the people will vote the person they bring in, the person they bring. Our political system, the individual who wants to be
are the ones who make
you
the
bring
decision.
Yourself.
And then if you find that you have no support at home, what do? You then jump ship and then go and form your own party or form your own alliance so that you can be in the front running for selection.
Yes. Democratic processes are beautiful in this country. That's what we're seeing really. At the backdrop. People can form political... No one is preventing you. You can say all the things you want to do. Political leaders... I note that when you're talking about the coastal leaders, there were 3 leaders.
Yes.
Kwale, Mombasa, Kilifi. Okay? I did not see Lamu. I did not see Tana River. I did not see Taita Taveta. Okay? So even when you say coastal, 3 were represented. Lamu, 1. Tana River, 2. Taita Taveta, 3. An equal number were absent. So are you really representing the coast?
The whole coast.
Yes, because that is the coast. All right? Now, again, it's politicians doing what politicians do.
Now, are Kenyans sitting back and looking at this circus and saying that, okay, this is interesting to watch? Or are they really invested in saying that, okay, we have decisions here in terms of who is going to lead us? Because it seems as though this arena belongs to certain people. They make the decisions about who's going to rule and then they just go ahead carrying on doing whatever it is that they want to do. And then every now and then they're going to drag the name of Kenyans into it. I'm going to go back to that point.
But you have to.
Drag the name of Kenyans into it and make it seem as though this work that you're doing, you're actually doing it for them. Do Kenyans feel that these political alliances are actually for their benefit?
Look at the recently completed election in America. The outcomes are still reverberating even now. And when you talk of the immediate former president, his following hasn't lessened. The fervor with which people cherish him hasn't lessened, at least among his diehard supporters. To understand this, you need to look at people who are thought to be either sitting on the fence and whose actions were seen to be contrary to what the wish of the president. They are referred to as traitors, tyranny of habit. It prevents you from actually looking at the person critically and saying, okay, we support this person and the party. But really, what sort of person is this? And these decisions that they're making, where exactly are these decisions taking us? Now, look at the net result of those decisions. The power in the Senate and Congress, that power has gone to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Consequences. These are consequences. All I'm saying is, those of us who are in Kenya, you look at the tyranny of habit, you've been voting for a certain political party. If you look around the country, you'll find specks of it where people don't follow that tyranny. If it's a party that's held where people say, we're looking at this individual. A guest we've had in this studio, and someone who calls in from time to time, one Shakil Shabir, is a perfect example. ODM-dominated region stood on an independent party. Not some other party, independent. The people of his constituency seemed to agree with him and voted for him. He's not the only one. There are people across this country who've been voting on parties you don't even know of. It tells you that this individual was liked. People liked his CV. People liked his track record. And his track record was his CV. They wanted the same thing. So there are noises, there are voices, there are opposition, but people preferred him. Why am I bringing people? You know, this entire discussion, even as we have it, there's someone called the voter whom these people are trying to woo and convince.
Sure.
And they forget one simple thing. This person has a mind. That person actually has a very clear understanding. It's a position, I've always taken. They have a very clear understanding of what they want. You may think they don't, they do. And I am saying this. Where we are right now, and with the disparities that have been exposed by COVID-19, and the issues that have come to the fore, that CV is no longer going to be talked about. It must be talked about loudly and with evidence. We need to know and understand what you have done before start telling us what you are going to do. What you have done should be an indicator of what you can do. And we want to see it now. Not here, see.
See it now. Yes. Let's open up the phone lines for a little bit. 0719-012-600. Let's hear from you. Absolutely important for you to have the track record of those that you want to lead in the future. Is it absolutely necessary for leaders, prospective leaders, to show you what we have done in order for us to say then what we will do in the future? This new alliance, are they going to be able to shake things up in the country? Are we going to see a situation whereby these folks are going to come in and turn things on their head, perhaps remove some of the support that folks, the likes of Raila Odinga and William Ruto have enjoyed or continue to enjoy for now? Will they be able to split things as we see them? Should it be a bone of contention for them, or should they be really convinced about making sure that Kenyans are concerned about their track record? Because what they're looking at now is saying we want to shake things up a little bit, but should they be more concerned about what Kenyans feel in terms of what they've done in the past against what they will then do in the future?
Let's look at, even if you're having this discussion, look at our governors, all right? We have two-term governors. There are quite a number of two-term governors. They're on their way out, all right? Now, the governors who presented themselves to the president are two-term governors. But of the three, there's only one whose track record we keep hearing is sterling and beyond reproach.
Can we look at that track record in a bit? Let's hear from David in Mombasa, first of all, and hear what it is that he has to say. Good morning, David.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Yes, I says my take on this issue is Kenyans just need to wake up. Because this ball game has been played over and over again.
Yep.
Yes, there's no way you'll go to an interview and yet you don't even have a referee who can support you for what you've done in the past, right?
Right.
You must have someone who can talk for you, who can say, David has done this and this and this, and I will definitely assure you David will give you a good job. That is what your track record gives you. Again, look at the people who are now saying that they're going to change Kenya.
Yes.
How are they going to change Kenya yet they've been there? They've never done anything. Like, okay, for example, how do you start a business with a thug who is known all over that this is a thug, and then you say that is your partner whom you're going to change something with? You must show, even the people you align yourself with, must show that these people are straight. You must have something in common. Yes. So again, I don't know me what I'll say, but I don't like politics. Why? It's all about stories, but no action.
No action.
No action at all. Like right now, they'll come and talk they will say what they say. At the end of the day, when they get the seat, the circle still repeats itself. It's over and over and over. It's just, I don't know, it's just some bombarded English that now they're bringing up to just sweeten whatever it is that they want to put across. But I would want a leader who will one time comes in the podium and says, I'm so and so, and I've seen that Kenyans have this and this and this kind of problem, and this is what I want to tackle for Kenyans.
Right.
Not somebody coming and telling me how bad Uhuru is, how bad Raila is, how bad please, they should stop talking about the bad records of someone. Show us what you've done. What you've done, and then please give us what you want to offer. Not tell us how bad somebody else has been, yet you've done nothing to actually prove that otherwise.
Loud and clear, Anthony. Definitely does. David, it definitely does make sense. Thank you for your comments this morning. Asante sana.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear from Peter in Juja. Peter, good morning.
Yes, how are you?
Very well, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, my contribution is I think it's we Kenyans that we are messing. It's not actually the leaders. In the sense that we will also pile up into our tribal background and forget anything these leaders have done us wrong in the past. Yeah, so we, the electorate, are the ones actually messing this country. And if we focus on individuals at the top, about the masses at the bottom who are always supporting these messy leaders.
So you're saying messing up by continually choosing the ones who come and present themselves to you?
Yes. Of course, that is the problem. So if we come together as a people and focus on those leaders, even though they might not have that national, popularity, but we understand the person, the way they are, and support them to become the leaders we want, then that is the way to go, other than actually supporting these leaders that have always been on power and they have actually messed us up for a very long time.
I hear you.
So why should we associate maybe with Ruto, Raila? Yeah, we should actually come up with a strategy as Kenyans and choose leaders that we rely on.
What strategy would you have in mind?
What would make sense?
Yeah.
What would make sense, Peter? What kind of strategy? What do Kenyans need to do to make sure that you don't get the same thing over and over again, but you're making a different decision?
No, I think we now have to rely on the media personnel and the discussions we have on the media and even in public gatherings, so that we have to educate ourselves and actually speak what is real and practical, so that whenever we are airing anything, like the discussions you're having, they are having an impact on the people on the ground, like us. Yeah. So
Peter, what would you like to see in a leader?
I would want to see accountability, because that is the basic thing, accountability.
Okay.
Yeah, accountability. Leave alone all those other personal traits and everything, provided they are accountable to our resources and our concerns, then that is a good leader.
Thanks for that contribution this morning, Peter. Asante sana. Let's hear now from Patrick Mumo. Patrick, good morning from Nairobi. Yes?
Hello.
Hello, P. Hello, Patrick. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. What's your contribution this morning?
Yes, I like the debate first. And then I'm looking at the alliance and the leaders that we have.
Yes.
But I'm thinking as a country, we are at a point where we need very fresh blood and fresh thinking. Because now, if we were to disaggregate these leaders, they've been there for the last 40 years.
Literally.
There is no clear, tangible resource that we could attribute to any of them. Now, as a country right now, we are in serious economic crisis. The truth is that COVID has exposed how vulnerable our economy is. It has also exposed how probably lack of imagination we have had. Like right now, there are a number of critical issues that are troubling the country. Look at the debt crisis. Nobody is talking about it. So if somebody wants to be the leader and the president come next year, then they need to have a clear strategy because there's no fiscal space. Now, the issues they are standing on, because we already know now they are the BBI issues, they are not speaking about expenditure management. Because one of the key problems that we have because of the debt is the problems of expenditure management. So we don't seem to have any tangible proposal to deal with that.
So you think that we need an absolute overhaul of leaders today? We need some fresh blood, a fresh pair of eyes, clean ears to come in and tackle the problems that this country faces. Nothing from what we currently have?
Yes, we need a clear overhaul. We need a man or woman who can deal with the issues that are in the country. I'm feeling we need another 2002 moment. Because if you look at our history, there have been breaks and reversals. So right now, if you look at the problem of the young people, the unemployment and all this, these guys have been there for the last 40 years. We still talk about the same issues.
Sure.
People want real jobs. People want an economy that provides opportunities. It's not about communities. It's not about tribes. Actually, for me, I really don't care who is at the top. What I care is what are they doing?
What are they doing? That's the
give
crux
us
of the matter.
Real opportunities, because the unemployment rate is very bad. We know the economy is struggling. We know the current regime is struggling to show some semblance of legacy. But the truth is, it's not there.
It isn't there.
It is not there. So I'm thinking that the next person or the leader that we need right now is a leader who can inspire the nation to a new path, a path that can give us real opportunities,
across
a path that can give people hope. Because I think we have sort of like suffered so much, we have normalized suffering as a country that people no longer care. And you can look at a good example, like look at what has just happened in Machakos by-election. Look at the turnout. It was so pathetic that you cannot be sure whether the person who has gotten that seat
actually won
as the mandate. As a mandate from the people. And personally, I move around the country.
How would you explain this apathy, if I may ask, Mr. Mumu?
I think we are at a point where we feel like we are on our own. I think leaders only come together to push their interest and their ideas and their personal selfish. So I'm thinking we need somebody who can speak about the people. People can give us hope once more, because we've lost that hope.
So when you say, if I understand you correctly, when you say speak for the people, you mean they need to speak to the needs that the people have.
Yes, we have needs and we have real needs.
Yes,
because they've been speaking to the people all this time.
Yes, you see, we have an economy that is crumbling around us.
Yeah.
People have lost jobs. Businesses are hurting. We are highly overtaxed. And all these, even when you're being told to support your government, whatever you are paying in taxes is disappearing into people's pocket. When you hear from the highest office that 2 billion disappear on a daily basis, as a taxpayer, what hope does that give you?
Absolutely.
And nothing has been done. One scandal after another, nothing is ever done. We saw NYS1, we saw Parliament speaking about it, we saw the drama, we saw Mafia House, we saw KEMSA now, we have seen all these, and you're wondering,
where are we going?
what is going around. That one scandal after another one. We see them drama. We see Parliament making noise, but nothing ever comes out of it.
Valid concerns this morning. Yep. Thank you very much, Patrick, for your concerns and also, sharing those sentiments. And I think that definitely that more and more people feel that way. Asante Sana for your thoughts this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break on KTN Home right now. The conversation continues. Keep it here as we continue talking and opening up this conversation to you. Don't go away.
.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Are you looking for a plan this Easter holiday? Sarit Your City has got your back. Have a wonderful time with friends and family at Sarit Your City this Easter. Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Monique, from 3 p.m. every weekday to learn more about what activities Sarit has in store for you. You also stand a chance to win shopping vouchers, and you get to join me on ground on the 2nd of April as I host the Spice Drive on location from Sarit, a city within a city. I can't wait to see you there.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Sarit Your City is inviting you for an Easter celebration like no other. Come over with your family and loved ones from the 2nd to the 5th of April and enjoy a special Easter-themed shopping experience with special mall deco, the Easter Village, Sana art display for the lovers of art, enjoy unlimited live performances. Don't forget to check out the Easter Fair where you can get great deals and offers. All this and more only at Sarit Your City. All COVID-19 protocols set by the Ministry of Health shall be observed.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a melee. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Tune in to Kenya's biggest conversation here in the Situation Room. Myself, Nduoko, and CT Muga in the studio today. Eric is going to be back on Monday, away from the studio today, but with us in spirit, for sure. Having that conversation about, do you need a CV to come in and serve on a national platform? Do you need a track record? NCT astoundingly says yes. We're coming to the top of the hour, unfortunately. I know CT is looking like, okay, yeah, this one I want to push it and say yes, absolutely necessary. The conversation definitely does continue. We're going to be seeing more and more of this. It's going to be coming in your face and somebody coming and saying, I am the option for you. But questions have to arise in terms of, have you done anything that's going to allow me give you this position?
Let me even ask one simple question. Something that seems to be like an endearing career move among our people. Fermenting corruption. What have you done against it?
Just that.
Just start with that one. What have you as an individual done in the position that you are in at the time you are in? What have you done?
Big questions and things to think about. The conversation does continue. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. We come back and talk about now what they're asking you to do about COVID. It's 8 o'clock.
Spice and everything nice.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Traffic.
All right, right past 8 o'clock. Still a little bit of traffic on Mombasa Road headed out into the city centre. It's a bit slow, but nothing too crazy. Folks getting where they are going in record time. Right now, we're looking at a standstill, however, on some parts of Mombasa Road, and not very clear. As you get towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, how you get into the CBD will be very, very slow. On the bypasses, southern, it's looking good. The Likoni interchange, however, feeding onto Mombasa Road, that then slows things down at the mouth of the southern bypass, but then thereafter it looks pretty good. Northern bypass flowing well this morning. Outer ring has some issues right around the entrance as you get on past Taj Mall, and that also spills onto Mombasa Road. But everybody else seems to not be having too difficult a time, especially Thika Road looking pretty good. Jogger Road slow as you get to the roundabout at the City Stadium, and then onto Landis Road and into the CBD. That looks all right. Thika Road, the star of the roads this week, I tell ya. Not too much of an issue there. Okay, so should you have one, don't hesitate to let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. You run into some problems, let us know. If you find a good route where nobody else has found, let us know that too.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
2 minutes
your
past
day.
8 o'clock. If you're just tuning in, you're tuned into Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Nduoko and CT Muga in the studio this morning. Eric away for the day. We'll be back with us on Monday. Tuned in on KTN Home. This is your radio experience on TV. And the live streams are also up on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Wherever you're tuned in around the country on 94.4 in Nairobi. Mombasa will have you on 87.9. 96.7 in Eldoret and 102.5 in Kisumu and other parts of the country. As we kick off this hour, the third hour of the show, we're going to start it off with the proverb from CT Muga.
Right. She is beautiful. She has love, understanding. She respects herself and others. Everyone loves and honors her. She is a goddess.
Celebration of women, I think it's a good day. Every day is a good day to celebrate women.
Yes, that is certainly one way of looking at it.
That is definitely a way of looking at it. Okay, so we're getting into this conversation, hot and heavy, CT, and everybody else who's tuning in this morning. COVID-19, we're looking at high numbers. The day before, the highest number of COVID-19 cases ever recorded in the country at over 1,500. Yesterday, we're seeing just under that number with 1,453. 1,423, I believe, was the number that were recorded. The number of cases that were recorded in the country yesterday. And now, as a result of that, several things are happening. More and more people are getting sick. We saw the situation in the counties over the last few days where some counties just don't have enough, Nairobi being one of them, to take care of people who are getting sick. And then other counties who say, yes, they do have some space, but they're going to have to reserve that just in case something does happen. Nairobi then recorded a positivity rate of over 50%. I believe it was 57.5 is the numbers that we're looking for that were announced by CAS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi yesterday. And all of this is happening amidst vaccines being taken or not taken. And now the elderly being added to that number of people who can then come in and get the vaccinations across the country. Seeing that, there's fear that these vaccines will expire come June. And the uptake has been pretty low. Out of the availability for 530 vaccines, only 64,000 have taken them. So in the coming days, we're likely to see these numbers increase. But the hope is that more and more people will take them. it doesn't negate the fact that more and more people are being found positive with COVID-19 every day. We're seeing some of the highest numbers that we've seen in the country. This is definitely the third wave of the infections now that Kenya is experiencing. And the numbers are not looking they're not looking good at all. Coming from the Ministry of Health, again, CAS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi told us and said, you know what, if we don't take care, if we are not careful, if we're not able to balance things out and again, flatten the curve or break the chain, then we are going to have to institute tighter measures to make sure that this happens. Now, off the back of that, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA, has now petitioned the government. There is a prayer on government to say, please, we have seen what is going on in the country right now. We have seen the high numbers that Kenya is recording on a daily basis. And they are petitioning the government, do a number of things for a short period of time to remove us from this danger that we are currently facing. And one of them is to increase the period of the curfew and then also increase the hours of the curfew and say, shut down some of these institutions well before 10 o'clock. At least increase it by an hour. So right now, the curfew is at 10 to 4. We're saying increase the curfew from the hours. So then you start the curfew at 9 o'clock. Shut down some of these bars and restaurants where people are sitting about and then are lying in danger of spreading COVID-19. So they're saying, because we've seen that deaths have increased, we're saying, please do something about this and don't leave it as it is. So they're saying there are counties that are highly affected at the moment, Nairobi being one of them. Is it possible, according to them, to please shut down movement within these counties for just 21 days to be able to break the chain, and then we can come back and go back to life as normal. So there's certain things that we are saying, and I'm going to quote this, is it in this same spirit of cooperation with the government and due to the urgent need to reverse this worrying upward trajectory in new COVID-19 cases, KEPSA is asking the government to institute additional stringent measures to be implemented over the next 2 to 3 weeks, after which they can be reviewed for impact. The Alliance wants the ongoing nationwide curfew that starts at 10 p.m. to commence at 9, while restaurants and nightclubs should close even earlier than 9 o'clock. KEPSA is also recommending the cessation of movement in and out of the 5 most affected counties in the country and be imposed for at least 3 weeks to tame the spread. The 5 it initially singled out for cessation of movement are Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kiambu and Kajiado, but later revised the statement. The private sector is saying that we should restrict all social gatherings, including in homes, for the next 3 weeks. The social gathering includes ceremonies to mark Eid and Easter celebrations, which come up in the next 1 week or so. Weddings, limit the number of people attending funerals to below 15 for the next 3 weeks. Reduction in the number of people attending physical meetings in offices for the next 3 weeks. We're already seeing a general scaling down of activities in government offices. There are a number of offices from Monday this coming week that will only operate at about 50%, and their staff have been asked to scale it down into 2-week shifts. Now, KEPSA is saying, beyond all of that, we have to do something significant right now to break the chain. It'll be painful, it will not be comfortable, but 3 weeks is all we need to stop the movement of this virus. Because yet again, like we've said so many times, the virus doesn't move on its own. It needs a host, and right now, we are moving this thing properly. Whether it's public transport, whether it's meetings, whether it's gatherings, whatever it is moving. And it's causing a lot of harm. We've not seen the kind of harm that a previous wave has caused like this in the country. Let's do something significant, highly impactful right now to break the chain. It needs to be done. And KEPSA is taking the forefront and saying, let's be the one to ask the government, because we are seeing greater harm that can be done if we don't. In the interim, we can do something that's going to be uncomfortable so that we can be comfortable in the future.
You know, countries that are looked at as the example of not just parity but good governance and respect for democratic principles, like Sweden, experimented with this merry-go-round of let people do what they like and suffered immensely for it. They have shut down.
Yes.
Okay. In Europe, countries have shut down, opened, looked at the figures again, shut down. The shutdown is not a punishment. It is a public health process that must be followed. It's not something you do when you feel like it. It's a step you take because it is the only step you can take if you want to break the forward movement of the virus. And the sooner one does it, the better. Countries that have come out of it, whether it is Iceland, whether it is Australia, whether it is Fiji, all these are countries that seem to be doing well, there is none that hasn't shut down at some point or the other. I mention Iceland because they are a bit unusual in this equation because their public health policy for the longest time got them prepared. They've been preparing for viruses. They've seen the trends and they've been preparing for it. So they've understood what they needed to do and they put these things in place. Right now as we speak, they're open, meaning forget masks, forget social distancing.
They broke the chain.
People are just doing what they would ordinarily do. And this is amidst COVID that is ravaging other people. We understood the epicenters of the COVID infection in this country well. And the success that we had with the low numbers was simply because we did the right thing at the right time. But we also know we do not have a shortage of epidemiologists or public health experts in this country. We are awash with them. They know and they advise. We even have a caucus that was formed specifically for this. It's like a defense force against COVID. They advise, they know. These are experts. The time isn't now. The time should have been a little earlier. But now that time is in the history. Right now, you cannot argue. You see, Nairobi isn't just the city, the capital city of Kenya. No. This is a travel hub for this continent. It's a travel hub for people outside this continent coming into this continent. We are going to suffer from that particular position in that we allow all sorts of people into the country.
Sure. Through Nairobi.
It is through Nairobi. And then locally, everyone from whichever county we have in this country comes to Nairobi at some point or the other before traveling out. So, we are not just the capital city of the country. We are the capital city for incubating and ensuring that this particular virus goes out. It's just a simple reality. So if you're going to shut down, this time you don't just shut down Nairobi, you shut down every other place in this country. Because if you don't, then these horrendous situations we talk about, Brazil and the US, it'll be with us here.
It's going to come. And look, it's not about feelings or emotions at this point. It's about what needs to be done. And we're talking about, we read what we've seen on social media, even in media reports, across board, stories that people have told us over the last week, and how they said this thing is vicious. Though the adjectives that have been used to describe the loss that people have gone through when they lose a loved one, when they lose a friend, have been really, really terrible over the last 2 weeks. And it seems that people have had an encounter with COVID during this third wave in a way in which they have not before. If we are going to nip this thing in the bud, literally, right now, the only way that we are going to be able to do it is to break the chain. The only way you can break the chain is to stop movement. And I don't think we can say it any clearer. Right now, with a virus, as with any other virus, the cold, you have a child who catches the cold and catches the sniffles and sits in the company of other children. That cold just hops about from one host to the next. It's what they need to, it's what it needs to survive. The only way you can kill this thing is to stop the movement. And we have seen that it's moving, and it's moving voraciously. Right now in Kenya, it is moving. There has not been a day when we've gone sub 1,000 of cases in the last 10 days in Kenya. We have not gone sub 1,000 reports of COVID in Kenya
and yet
in the last 10 days.
And yet there was a time we were at 2 digits.
There was a time we were at 64.
Yes,
even
exactly.
lower than that.
Yes, we did.
Not too long ago. We're
Yes.
talking about January this year,
Yes.
when the cases were very low. But what had happened is that you had instituted those places, you had instituted those measures where people understood, okay, we can't be in the company of one another. We've just come off the back of people being away from each other in terms of cessation of movement just 3 months before in counties. But then we were warned about this, that this time will come where the cases will go up. However, there is something that can be done about it. Honestly, guys, the lives that are being lost today, the people who are getting sick and then have to go to hospital to seek treatment for some time, or some cases where this treatment then is not available to them, it is better that we take that 20-day period, break this chain, reduce the number of cases that are occurring in this country on a daily basis, and then be able to come back slowly and say, all right, let's fix this. And I know it's gonna jump out at me already and say, you know what are people supposed to do? How are they supposed to feed? What are they supposed to do in terms of economic activity? How are we gonna do that if
Your
we're dead?
alternatives aren't pleasant.
No, if you're dead, if people are not alive,
Then,
what are we looking for? What do you need food for?
and actually, in the absence of these very dire actions that must be taken, what you're looking at is numbers of dead people not just growing exponentially to a degree that you will actually ask yourself, why didn't we shut down? So why wait until we get to the point of asking that question? Why didn't we just shut down?
Sure. Why sing your woulda, shoulda, couldas? You know, why sing those later?
But you know of significance, huh? This alliance that actually looks of manufacturers, people who are in commerce, and people who ordinarily would be at the forefront of
saying
economic
don't shut
activity must
down.
continue.
Yes.
What do you think has happened for them to come together as a group to say, folks, we need to shut down? What do you think they have seen?
For sure, they've seen a loss. I mean, this is very clear. Exactly. The private sector alliance is not government, whereby, you have some kind of shot in the arm to be able to move, right? Private sector who have to generate a lot of almost all of the economy or the economic activity on which they thrive, are the ones saying, you know what? If we don't shut down now, we are not going to be able to survive in the future. They would be the ones saying, let's not shut down. Because if we shut down, how are we going to survive? But they're coming out and saying, across board, we need to do something. They must be seeing a loss right now.
Do you know, right?
Unprecedented.
We used to talk about people who have died. We no longer talk about them because there are many.
They are.
There are many. It's not those who are infected. We've moved to the level of affected. It's the same situation we had with HIV. People ask this question, does it really exist? Is it really true? Is it this or the other? Until it got home, so that everyone got to a point where they knew someone or they were related to someone. Now, we're not getting there with COVID. We're there.
We're there.
Something that is aerosol, something that spreads through the air, my friend, you really don't know when you can catch it. You don't really know. And remember, our children went to school. Now, children are very good carriers of it. They don't quite get affected as those who are older do, as the adults do.
Nah, but they can spread it
But
very
they can
well.
spread it very, 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 very fast. And now you have children at home, parents at work. What are you going to do about children mingling with other children? And then they come back home.
And you have about 1 million of them sitting exams starting today. Those who sat exams over this past week were about 1 million. They've come home. You have another 1 million who are going into a 3-week period of sitting exams. They're going to come home in about 3 weeks or so. Around the country, don't we have a unique opportunity to stop this thing today? This is what we can do. Because the question has been over the last 3 weeks, okay, so what should happen? Should there be a tightening of measures? Should we remind people to wash their hands?
But we know what to do. We've done it before.
Should we remind people to wash their hands and, don their face masks? Because at the end of every message where unfortunately somebody says, I've lost someone, at the end of that, like a caveat, like an everlasting caveat has been, this thing is vicious. Mask up and maintain social distance.
But you see, what is even
it's
worse
not
now,
enough right now.
The situation we have is not what we had before.
No, it isn't.
We have now the new entrance into this particular deadly game. It's called variants. Okay? So, you are not talking about the virus you knew in January. You're talking about viruses that are far more focused and intent on killing you. Not causing you harm, killing you. It acts faster, and the end result is that much faster. And it's that much more difficult to actually curb. So, you are not here. This isn't a movie set that has series. No. It's like an advertisement. It is short, brief, to the point.
And it's done.
And it's done.
It's not coming back.
And the done here is you, done, gone, finished, and then preparations for now that you've gone. You cannot understate the seriousness of what we have right now.
Nope.
And it isn't something that I am certain the government has a handle on it and they know what they're doing, but they need to come out into the open and tell us what it is.
Well, rumor has it that President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to speak to the nation today. We'll address the nation and talk about if there is going to be a raft of new measures, if there's going to be anything. We will know today, should he make that announcement, should he speak to Kenyans and say, this is where we are and this is what needs to be done. But it is very clear that there is advice coming from different sectors saying that it is absolutely necessary to get, even if you're going to have these gatherings. President Uhuru Kenyatta said a couple of weeks ago, funerals, shut it down to 100. KEPSA is saying, shut it down to 15. Let these meetings cease to take place completely. Even those that you have said, scale it down even further. Increase the hours of the curfew. Let us say that if you don't need to be at work, don't go to work. But it's not for the unforeseeable future. We're saying 3 weeks is what we need to break this chain, to break this cycle, and then we can start to reintroduce ourselves. Is it too long to consider? Is it too long to consider? We'd like to hear from you this morning as well. It affects all of us, whether we want to admit it or not. That it affects you because you could be in a position to get the virus. It affects you because there could be somebody you know who is sick right now, or somebody who has the potential or is at risk of getting sick. We need to do something, and that is for sure. At the same time, the KEPSA is also asking that there needs to be a massive rollout of the vaccine to provide people with this first-line defense in terms of protection from getting the virus. Open it up and stop this business of saying just frontline workers, because that clearly is not happening. Open it up to everybody. Put mechanisms in place so that you have more in terms of a supply for others in the country who need it. We need to do something, and we need to do something today. Otherwise, we're going to have more deaths. This thing is going to continue spreading with the activities that we see coming up in the next few days with Eid and Easter. And then children coming home after the KCSE examinations. There's going to be a bigger problem than what we are seeing today. And something needs to be done for a short period of time to save life for a longer period of time later. 0719 012 600. That's how you can call us. Is it absolutely necessary today to shut things down for about 3 weeks and then we come back and now start to introduce life as normal again? It is absolutely necessary for us to break the chain. Otherwise, this grief that we see, these tears that we cry today, tomorrow, this uncomfortable situation that we find ourselves in is just going to continue, and it is going to get worse. Something needs to be done today. Something absolutely needs to be done today. Otherwise, we're going to have a very, very difficult time when it concerns this virus. I don't see another way. Right now, we can ask people to wear masks. It's not happening. We can ask for social distancing in public transport. It is not happening. We can ask people to. Offices are full. Meetings are taking place. These things are happening. We can ask people, but everybody would say at this point, well, in my own situation, it's not so bad, right? I can just get by with doing this and I'll run back home. Now, if everybody's thinking like that, what's going to happen? Are we raising the alarm? Too loud? For something that's not too dangerous?
I don't think we are. We are not sort of like inventing the wheel here. People the world over, countries the world over, who've been able to put a lid on this have done. What needs to be done is not a secret, it's known. The problem is that it's uncomfortable. It's something no one looks forward to amidst all the problems we have. But weigh the problems. Which would you rather?
Yeah.
Because the options aren't really that many. Live to fight another day, or put yourself in harm's way that the other day now becomes history for you. Because really that is the reality that we're facing right now. You see, there are times when a debate is necessary and a discussion is important, and perspectives are also important to be listened to and to be spoken of. There are times when deeds must overtake all these things, and certain steps must be taken forcibly. Decisions must be made for the good of all.
Sure.
And those decisions must be made today.
It'll be uncomfortable for a short period of time, but then you're doing something that's going to help life a little bit more comfortable in the future. We're going to hear from you. Right, I want to take a break on KTN Home. Also take a break here and look at weather and traffic, and then come back and have this conversation with you. Are we all together on this? Something that needs to be done today to protect us for the future. We'll be back in a minute.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
All right, partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi, 20 degrees. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 14. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 21, highs of 28 today. The highs will be 28 in Nakuru, mostly sunny at 23. It's sunny in Eldoret at 24, highs of 26 and lows of 11. Highs of 31 and lows of 19 in Kisumu. Sunny conditions in Kakamega at 25, highs of 33 and lows of 16. Partly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 28, highs of 33. Highs of 33 also in Malindi. It's partly sunny at 28, and it's mostly sunny in Kampala at 21. Highs of 28 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam is experiencing rain showers this morning at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 26. It's mostly cloudy still in Johannesburg at 13 degrees. It'll go to highs of 22 and lows of 12. We're looking at mostly clear conditions now in Lagos. The rain seems to have stopped, at least for now. It'll then go to highs later of 32 and lows of 26. And it's mostly cloudy in Kinshasa at 22. A chance of rain later with highs of 31 and lows of 23.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is... Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Traffic.
All right, so still, again, not too crazy today on the roads, except for Mombasa Road, where certain parts of the road are an absolute standstill, not happening. And then connecting to that, to the Likoni interchange, we have also, blocked traffic then between Bunyala and Lusaka roads. So there's a problem there. Thika Road looking pretty good today. Not much of an issue. Getting into the city, not bad at all. Outbound, Westlands, a little bit, but not too crazy. Southern, Eastern, Northern bypass is looking pretty good. Red Hill also, you can use that if you're headed out of the city without too much of an issue. So it looks good across the board today, guys. Well done. Hopefully we can keep it that way through most of the morning. Let's take a look in about half an hour and see if we can make that happen. Or if there's anything that's blocking us, we can share that information, shall we? SpiceFM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice FM. Nyeri. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room.
Situation Room tuned in on Spice FM KE in Nairobi, 94.4 in Nairobi, 87.9 in Mombasa, Eldoret 96.7, Nyeri 90.9, Kisumu 102.5 and Malindi 97.7. We're also on your radio experience on TV on KTN Home and online, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. Myself and Nduoko in the studio this morning with CT Muga. Eric joins us again come Monday. So we're continuing our conversation this morning, and right off the bat, 0719-012-600, that's where you can call us on this morning, having the conversation with you. Necessary to have a collective conversation then about what needs to happen concerning COVID-19 in the country. High numbers, some of the highest that we've ever seen, right in the middle of the third wave of this virus spread in the country. And then calls from the Private Sector Alliance to say, look, we're asking the government to do something about this. We can talk about tightening measures, but something clear needs to be done. And I've got to say that I am right up there in agreement that if we don't do something definite today, we're going to be playing with a lot of scenarios tomorrow about how to stop it. And we have an opportunity to break the chain. It's scientific. It works in this way. That if you stop people from moving, especially in areas where you see that the infection rates have been high, you stop people from moving, you have a good chance of stopping the transmission of this virus. And I think that it's necessary to do something in that regard as soon as possible. We're taking your calls and hearing from you. 0719 012 The conversation continues. He's here from Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. Hello. Okay, Kevin is gone. All right. We will still take your calls this morning. 0719 012 CT. Definitely a move that needs to be made. Before we hear from Collins, definitely a move that needs to be made in order to stop future suffering. Lock it down for some time, especially in affected counties, as a first measure to take.
Well, you know, the decisions that have to be made seem complex, and yet in reality, the decisions themselves are not complex. It's what else is involved or what the decision making will entail. That is what perhaps would bring an element of complexity. Yes, because you shut down. The question will be asked, okay, so how do people live? How do they survive? It'll be asked.
All right, let's hear what Collins has to say. Collins, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes. Tell us what you think. We need to shut it down. We need to stop things for a while to get a hold of this virus.
You know, I'm not even sure about what should happen. Because you cannot shut the country down, considering the fact that people are suffering economically, but at the same time, you know, people are flouting these rules. So it's really a delicate balance, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the president should consider, you know, he should just do a very good balancing act, but he should not shut the country down.
Not shut the country down. It would be too difficult to do that. All right. Thank you, Collins. Let's hear from Abdul in Lamu. Abdul, good morning. Hello, Abdul.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So what are your thoughts about this? What needs to happen?
Me, I support the move by the government to lock down the country.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead, Abdul.
I say I'm supporting the move by the private sector to advise the government to shut down partially the country. Yes, because as you can see, the numbers are surging up.
Yeah.
So they need to get back to the drawing board, even if they are going to review the curfew hours. Let's say it should start from 9 to 5 a.m. instead of 4 a.m.
Right.
But one thing they also need to review is the taxes. I think with the stringent measures, if they are going to deprive people from moving out, doing the business, scaling down operation for civil servants, then I think we should go back to the tax bracket. People should be exempted from certain taxes.
So if we're going to do one, then something else has to give as well.
Yes, something has to be done also because people are suffering. You cannot shut down the country and yet the inflation rate is very high.
I hear you, man. Thank you, Abdul. Thanks for your comments this morning. Let's hear from John in Eldoret. John, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very well. How are you, sir?
Fine. Salimia Muga.
Muga amesalimika.
Yes, nimeshukuru kaka, hujambo?
Sijambo.
Asante.
Now, tomorrow, unfortunately, I'm going to bury my childhood friend.
Pole sana ndugu.
Who succumbed to COVID. And I've always said, and with fear of sounding like a broken record, that you can never deal with a pandemic through what the president and the government has been saying personal responsibility. It does not work.
Right.
Those are the things that Anyongo says, a complex matter, you are giving a simple solution. So when you're dealing with a pandemic, it has to be a government has to take charge.
Yeah.
And that's what is happening all over the world. In Europe, in UK, in America, the government is taking charge. But if you say that now you're letting people to take personal responsibility, how many people are able to take personal
It's not
responsibility?
going to happen.
And even before we start talking of a lockdown, can we just enforce the rules that we have now? Matatus now, a friend of mine was telling me now, if you're in a stage waiting for matatu and you're waiting for a COVID compliance matatu, so to speak, you will not travel because there are none.
There are none.
Go to Kikomba, go to Isili. Things are just the way they were even before COVID. So the government, even before they talk about lockdown or anything, let them just enforce what
exists right now.
Simple rules. Yes, the existing rules that are there. Before talking about those other rules.
I hear you,
So
John.
it is possible. The simple things that are there can able to reduce this matter. And the current Camry projection is our peak is not even now. It's in May. That's what, if you go to COVID, to Camry website, that's what they're saying. It is in May, not even now.
Not even now. I hear you, brother.
Yes.
And I think that, for sure, Asante Sana for your thoughts this morning.
Okay.
All right, Kevin, good morning. Kevin, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
Yes.
So my contribution is I agree with the previous caller and I agree with you guys to a certain extent in the sense that if we're going to lock down, the government has to look after its own citizens because all these other countries that you've mentioned, the one major thing that they've all done is like they have catered for their citizens. You see, like me as a person, I've been affected by it.
Right.
In the sense that I got it and God helped me. I managed to heal from it. So I know firsthand what it means to have COVID.
Right.
And coming from that situation, I can relate and say, okay, the government needs to do that, needs to shut down and do this and this and that. But now the problem is when we say shut down, we shut down, then the normal Kenyan sitting at the bottom of the totem is in pain. Because now I get people, like I live in Umoja, where people say, I have to go out there. Even if I get arrested, my kids are crying, So I will go out there. If I get arrested, I get arrested. If I get sick, at least I get sick looking for money for my children. So I'm telling you this because I'm down there. I'm with the normal Kenyan Mwananchi. So what the government needs to do before they start considering shutdowns and all these other things is to consider how are we going to help these guys, because 3 weeks are good, but 3 weeks landlords are going to come and say, hey, you have to pay me. I'm in business now. If you don't pay me, I gotta evict you. I gotta take your things and maybe sell them off and such like activities. And the worst thing is that the kids are back home. So you see, this is a dilemma situation.
It is. It is.
And so that's why I'm saying it's easy for the more well-off Kenyans to actually say, hey, let's lock down. But the others, the DJs, the waiters, the people who are going to be affected if these things get cut off. Like I know of a company, a franchise in Kenya, where people actually benefited from the extra 1 hour that was added. There was like almost 20 people that were employed as a result of which, if the 1 hour is taken off, these people go back home. And most of them, like I know a lady who has just gotten a newborn baby and she's a single mom. She pays rent from the 20,000 shillings she's earning. So you can imagine the situation this lady will be in if you kind of shut that down. Yes, there is corona, but now there is this other problem of livelihood. So how do we solve that too?
It's a big one, and I think that's why we're having the conversation this morning, for everybody to kind of chip in and say, okay, so what needs to happen? Thanks for your sentiments this morning, Kevin.
Okay.
Let's hear some from some other folks.
If I could just finish, I'm sorry. The solution that I would probably say would be enforcement.
Enforcement.
Because Yeah, because the one thing I've noticed, even when I come from work, because I come from between 9 and 10 p.m., people are rushing to climb matatus. It's mayhem. It's absolute mayhem.
Yep.
So the curfew, what it has done, it has lessened the hours, but it has forced people to be like, normally you wouldn't go home at a particular time.
Yes.
So now you're being forced to go at that particular time, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of people. If you walk around town between 9 and 10, you'll see what I'm talking about. The matatus are very few and people are so many. So I would really ask the police to really enforce. Just enforce what we have, because the police are just getting bribed. Like if you walk along Lutuli Avenue between 9 and 10, you will see people are getting arrested for not wearing masks, but they are getting released because after they pay 200 or 500
And pay a
shillings.
bribe.
It's something I've personally witnessed. So thank you for the conversation.
Thanks, Kev.
I'm a very good listener of you guys. And keep
Asante.
up the good work.
Asante, man. Keep it in the room. Thank you so much. Let's hear from Robert also this morning. Robert, good morning.
Morning, Lou.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I'm well. How is City?
City
Very well,
is
thank
fine.
you. Now, you had time call for hard decision.
Right.
And this is both to the government and the general public. My honest opinion. You see, this third wave of this virus is ravaging this country.
Yep.
And if you look at it, at least right now, if you are not infected, you are affected by COVID.
For sure.
And as opposed to earlier on, when we just got into this, at some point, people even didn't believe that COVID was there. But right now, everybody is aware that we have this disease. And at that particular time that COVID was just getting in here, we had some containment measures. And those are some of the things that help us through the first and the second wave. I think the government is supposed to come up with stringent measures to help us curb this virus.
Do you think that the police can help? If I can ask you, Robert, I mean, a couple of people have said this morning already. Do you think that if there was enforcement by police, security agencies of these measures, that it would help?
It would help, but to some extent. You see, the moment, like what other caller was saying, the moment you include the police, then people will start talking about things like corruption.
Right.
It is all about personal decision and the measures that government are going to come up with. However much we are going to blame the police if they are involved in this, it will not yield as much as it would if we took personal responsibility.
I hear you on that.
I really get concerned too on what people are saying. That if we lock down this country, they're going to affect the economy. People are not going to get their livelihood. People are not going to get their daily bread. Yes, but you remember what one day our CS for education said: dead people don't go to school.
There you go.
Dead
people can't
eat. Dead people don't go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
The government is supposed to come up with the measures that is going to curb this thing. At the same time, look for ways to cushion the general public.
I hear you.
That's my question.
Thanks for that, Robert. Let's hear from Joshua Muteti, who is in Nairobi. Been holding for a while. Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning. I'm calling from Nairobi,
Yes.
National Taxpayers Association.
Okay.
So I would like just to say that last year we had an example of what a lockdown will bring, and people were asked to work from home, and everyone was panicking, and so it gave us a clear picture on where we would have been if the government had imposed a total lockdown. So the key outcome that came out was that we had a very big number of people dropping from being self-sustainable into the most vulnerable group, the people who are the poverty, you see. So I'm trying to look at the situation of the economy right now. The kids are coming back to home, which means expanded costs at home. And then also the government at the same time is trying to expand its tax bracket, is trying to expand its sources of revenue. So it's really tough for the taxpayer. So if the government is looking at taking us back into a lockdown, and at the same time they need these citizens to produce revenue to cater for the government expenditure. What does this mean for the taxpayer? It means that we'll have more numbers dropping into the poverty, getting into poverty, below poverty line. So personally, I don't think it's a good idea for the government to take us into a lockdown. What we can do is the government the way the other contributors are saying, they can use what we have right now, because the biggest people who are offending the COVID laws are the same government. So what are they telling the citizens by telling the citizens going for a lockdown, whereas we, the bigger citizens, are doing our things normally? It doesn't make sense for the citizen. And then I'm just looking at that taxpayer who works on a casual basis, debating between, now am I going to stay at home or and look at my kids here getting angry the whole day? I will not, and then the landlord, of course, will not care that the government has taken us to a lockdown. The bills don't care; they will still come hitting and knocking on your door. So I'm just looking at that person who earns on a daily basis. And the informal sector are the majority in this country. So what will happen to them? So it's not a really good idea. What we have right now, we can work with it.
And
the
enforce
government
on what we currently have.
Yeah, an enforcement of what we currently have.
All right.
And the government to take to actually lead by example by showing people that this thing is serious.
It's
You
serious.
see, the government, for example, if the government can go on, not the government, but the politicians can go on rallies and do campaigns and do their things normally, what does that inspire to the normal citizen who
They
doesn't
can do their things normally as well, even with the virus.
Yeah, even with the virus, which means they can do their thing as well normally, even with the virus. So
All right.
they need to demonstrate by example. So that's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Muteti. Let's also hear from Minor. You also have been holding for a while. Minor from Nyeri. Good morning, sir. Hello, Minor.
Hello, morning.
Good morning, Minor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Semanami.
Me, I want to contribute and say that the lockdown is not good for the time being, because actually we have already experienced during the first time when we had it. You see, in Kenya, there are those people who get what we call hand-to-mouth cash.
Right.
If it happened to be a lockdown, how are they going to survive? You know, it will be a problem added to another problem. So me, I'm saying that the people should mask up, social distance, all the hotel and the bar owners should follow those rules and regulations. And I think we can actually do better if we follow those rules and the regulation. It is not only that the people are reckless to the rules and the regulations, because actually nowadays people are not masking up, they are not social distancing, they are just take it for granted. You know?
I hear you, Minor.
It is said that if you cross your eyes to factory, you are likely to run through accident. Before we reach to that extent, let us try our best and see how we can do better, because this thing is real. That is all I can say.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Minor. Thank you for your contributions this morning. Let's also hear from Peter. Peter Nyandara. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm very fine. SpiceFM.
Yes.
How are you doing, sir? Madam.
Madam is fine, sir.
We are very well, thank you.
Yes.
I had this this thought, yeah. We would. I would really love to advise the government. You know, when lockdown is applied right now, you know, the students are they are just through with the exam.
Yeah.
So, you know, the parents are right now, they are having a great pressure to look for the school fees for next year.
For next term.
Now,
yeah,
for next term. So you tell me right now, if the government closes implies the lockdown right now, you know, the parents are going to be very desperate. Hello.
Yes, Peter, we can hear you.
And you know that when a parent says that the kids are suffering, I don't think there's any type of law that can stop them from looking for money.
Sure. They're
So,
going
you
to
know,
do whatever they need to do to look for it.
yes, they are going to be so vulnerable to breaking the law, you know. So I would really urge the government not to close down the country, just to, as my fellow called some hours earlier and said that they should enforce. You know, it is better to enforce than to lock down, you know.
Okay.
I'd better spend 3,000 on buying whatever the government wants than lose the 3,000
paying a cash
and
bill.
still not be able to buy whatever the government wants, you know.
Yeah.
Then I'll be a criminal, but it would have been avoided. I would have been a good citizen if given the chance, and you know, you get me.
I hear you, Peter. Definitely does make sense.
Yes.
Thanks for your contribution this morning. We're still trying to thrash out this conversation and find out really, so what is the option here? Locking it down or enforcing those measures that currently exist? Thanks for your contribution this morning, Peter. Asante sana. Okay, so I mean, that is what we're hearing, CT. It looks like a lot of people are saying it's necessary that in a difficult time, you need to make difficult decisions. Here we are with this thing that's killing people on a daily basis. An average of 20 people are dying every day. An average of 1,000 people are getting infected daily. Has not let up in the last 5 days. What needs to be done today that is going to sort out this particular problem? How is it going to be sorted out? Do we lock down counties? And if we do, how are we going to take care of people? Do we enforce the measures that currently exist and hope that people will follow? And then, if not, bring in security agencies like police to make sure that it's actually done? What needs to happen here?
You know, whenever we talk about government, we talk about it as though it's this amorphous being, amorphous institution that we actually only relate to in times of crises, and we don't really fully understand. Well, this entity has its work cut out for it. It has had it for the longest time. And when I say it, I mean the institution and the people who work within it. The truth is, we have very able, very capable people who actually know what to do. So that they don't know. Even with the cash constraints that we have, they do know what to do. Okay? Some of the constraints that need to be removed are the constraints that prevents them from doing what they need to do, even in the constraint. Because sometimes they're constraints. And many of these constraints are political. They're nothing more than political. Someone seems to think that there is a priority that we should have other than ensuring that all Kenyans are safe, and that all Kenyans have a way to look forward for tomorrow. This is why we pay taxes. That is why leaders are elected. And this is why people have those hefty salaries when they work for the government. This is why they are there. And this is the moment for them to actually earn that money. Instead of just doing business as normal, this unusual business that we now have at hand requires them to be all hands on deck now.
Right, to step up in a time when it's extremely because it is difficult. I mean, look, one life lost over something that can be avoided is actually too many lives lost. It is. And to say that there's something that we can actually do about it is going to create an uncomfortable situation. In the meantime, it needs to be done. Because look at it. When we're talking about, institute lockdown, tighten the measures, say that people should not move about as much as they normally would. It is uncomfortable, isn't it? The options that you have open the doors for so many other things to creep in that you wouldn't want. You now want to talk about, so enforcement by police. And then people are talking on the other side about, so corruption will come into the door. So, I mean, how then do you deal with both of these situations at the same time? You know, since we're having a conversation with our fellow Kenyans, let me have a conversation with the agencies that seem to have the finger constantly pointing at them with respect to corruption. When we talk about shutting down, can you shut it down, please? Just so that other Kenyans can breathe easy, okay? Those who are in the security business and who are always being accused of wanting to take advantage of this dire situation, instead of enforcing, accepting bribes. Can you not just take bribes and let people go home at the time they can? Okay? Is it possible to do this thing that you were once trained to do and which you know you must do? Once and for all.
Yeah, okay. If it's difficult, try it at least for a week.
And see how it works.
Yes.
Okay. At this point, we're going to ask our audience on KTN Home to switch over to Spice FM. But before we do that, the Kenya Savannah Classic presented by ABSA is off to a hot start at the Karen Country Club following the conclusion of the Magical Kenya Open a couple of days ago, which was won by Justin Harding from South Africa. The tournament is still taking place in a bubble, but you can still catch all the action live on KTN News. It's worth noting that the European Tour and tournament partner ABSA have come together to reward every single birdie raked in this double header. ABSA have pledged to reward every birdie scored with 1,000 shillings, while the European Tour, through their Golf for Good initiative, will match the figure with 2,000 shillings for every birdie. Funds collected will not be given to the players, but instead will be used to fund a charitable cause in Kenya. The double header enjoys the support of Safaricom, Wilkin Wireless, Copycat, the Sports, Art and Social Development Fund, Karen Country Club, Johnny Walker, Carringett, AAR, and Hemingways. All right, thank you so much for our audience on KTN Home. Switch over to SpiceFM KE where the conversation continues. And this is Kenya's biggest conversation. We don't stop.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
conversation this morning, and as we're talking about what could possibly happen over the next coming days, in terms of what's happening with COVID-19. CT, before we went to that break, you were saying, you know what? People are talking about corruption. People are saying that, look, you lock this thing down, or you don't lock it down, or you enforce measures using police. There's a possibility that, corruption will creep into the window. It's already there. I mean,
let's broaden the scope of this lockdown, okay? The lockdown implies that you don't do things as you normally did. And I want to take it beyond the physical sphere of people not moving around and take it to habits that cost the taxpayers money, where there are wastages, where there's corruption. Is it possible? I understand that clearly there's some people who have corruption in their DNA and they can't stop. But okay, not forever. A week. And if the week works, 2 weeks. Stop stealing. If your job is to ensure that money is intended, goes to where it's intended, make it so. If you're in the Ministry of Finance and it is your job to ensure certain things happen the way they do, if you're in the county system, if you are in the security business, you're a police person, is it possible to simply go for a week without taking a single bribe? It's an opportunity for you to be patriotic for once. If you're in the Ministry of Health and you're in the business of selling things which you know very well are intended for the health of the citizens of this country, can you pause for a week? Because asking you to stop forever, I've understood it is almost impossible. Because you may think these things aren't important. This is one disease that is going to affect you whether you like it or not. Can you not do something that guarantees that there is enough money within our systems to ensure that other people can actually live for that other day, for that other week? Is it too much to ask of citizens? Because all these people I'm talking to are citizens in this country. They're not robbing some other country and coming here.
No,
they're robbing this very country that they're in. They are mismanaging the very resources that are at their disposal for managing on behalf of others. Is it too much to ask? Those of them who claim to be Christians, those of them who claim to be Muslims, people have a month. Muslims have Lent.
Christians have Lent.
Did I say Muslims?
Yes, you did.
I meant Christians have Lent.
Mm-hmm.
Muslims have Eid. When they go for these are periods when you should actually reflect and do the things that you ought to do correctly. Surely, is it not possible for you to put down aside your day-to-day business, the things that you do on a daily basis and which you think are okay, put them aside and just do the right thing for once, not this right thing that you've created? Is it too much to ask? I don't think it isn't.
It's not too much to ask. The
No.
conversation does continue, though. We're coming up to 9 o'clock, and we'll see how that changes right now.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? Such that you resort. Nafandi umbo yako iko na
hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yeah, it's looking much better.
Traffic.
Folks are talking about how they did 12 minutes on Kiambu Road today. It's not looking bad. Great stuff. Hope it continues throughout this Friday. Going into the weekend, I hope that traffic doesn't get any crazier. Where it is crazy, however, is Mombasa Road, and that's in and outbound. People having to use Enterprise roads to go round and then join with the Likoni interchange out towards the southern bypass. Following all the way to Nyeri Stadium is going to take you a pretty minute. It's not going to be quick as you hope. It'll take some time, but it is moving. We're not at bumper to bumper in any place right now. Okay, different parts of the city. Let's look at Mombasa town. It's not too bad right now, flowing in and out of the town without an issue. Same thing in Kisumu city and Nakuru town as well. So it looks like today was the day where all roads had a meeting and decided, let's not make it terrible today in terms of traffic. Let's hope it stays that way. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. It's Friday. Let's keep it moving well into the weekend, shall we?
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
You're tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on Spice FM. Also, wherever you're tuned in from around the country, if you're in Nairobi on 94.4, Mombasa on 87.9, Malindi 97.7, 102.5 in Kisumu, Nyeri on 90.9, 96.7 in Eldoret, and 96.0 in Nakuru. My name is Ndoko, in the studio this morning with C.T. Muga. Eric Latif is away for today. We'll be back with us on Monday. We're kicking off the final hour of this show, and we're doing it with today's proverb.
She is beautiful. She has love, understanding. She respects herself and others. Everyone loves and honors her. She is a goddess.
She is.
Isn't she just?
Isn't she just? And I say never a bad day to celebrate women. Never a bad day. Okay, so we're coming off the end of that conversation, CT, of locking down. And it's interesting to see that some folks believe that, okay, if it is Nairobi where you have the problems.
No, we have problems everywhere, but Nairobi is an epicenter.
Nairobi's epicenter and
Major epicenter.
Has the number one, has the highest number of cases, has the highest positivity rate if you want to look at county per county.
Yes.
So lockdown Nairobi.
Has the highest population, has the highest rate of interactions among human beings internationally, in the continent, in the country. It has everything. Yes.
So,
what are people saying?
If all the ICU beds are occupied, then lock down Nairobi and other most affected counties. Otherwise, if you wait for Nairobians to follow the COVID-19 guidelines, then you're in for a rude shock. Because unlike the Rwandese, Kenyans do not take the COVID-19 pandemic seriously.
Okay, that's a view.
So people are not taking it seriously. I mean, what are we still doing right now where we are? What needs to happen?
That is a statement that concludes what we see. But there is a caller who outlined it rather interestingly. And he talked about the reality of COVID and what it means when you talk about a lockdown. For people, the lockdown is what means death, not COVID. Because if they can't go out to look for sustenance, if they can't go out to do what they need to do, then they and their family are as good as dead. That is what we've heard. And I'm sure the individual was echoing what very many Kenyans know. Not think or feel, no. So, when you say that we are not allowing you to go to work, we're not allowing you to do what you normally do. When I spoke about people doing the untoward things that give the economy not just a bad rap, but helps grind it to a halt, I may have sounded facetious, but I meant it. When we are thinking about COVID, you can't think about the way you do things normally because there's nothing normal anymore. Normalcy went out of the window a long time ago. How to work, when to work, where to work. Even if COVID is tamed the world over, there is no normalcy we're going back to.
No.
We're going to new change. That's what we're going to. There'll be remnants of something that happened in the past, but the past as we know it, that one is gone. So even when we talk right now of what needs to be done about people and how they need to earn a living and how they need to go about lives, it isn't just a shutdown as in, okay, lock it up and see what happens. There's no. We've had it before. We know what happens. Now, what information, what knowledge have we gained from the past that we can use now to make this lockdown bearable? Is it just a complete shutdown? I'm advocating for a complete shutdown. I could be contradicted and somebody could come up with something better, and they should. But I'm going about what I would refer to as best practices. We have seen countries that have shut down and we've seen the positivity that has come out of it. We've seen countries where when it goes up by a notch or two, they shut it down. At every indication that things are going out of what was considered controlled, they shut it down. But what that has resulted in is that they don't shut down for long periods. But if you leave the situation as it is, my friend, what is facing us is extinction. Not at a bad time. It's extinction because that's where we're headed.
Sure. If we look at countries where this has happened, and I think it's absolutely necessary to give examples of countries where things are actually in a terrible position for us to be able to see how it happened. Brazil was on the same path months ago, not a year ago, 6 months ago. Brazil was at the place whereby they were, playing around with this idea of, all right, what should we do?
Should we not?
Should we shut things down between territories, between the capital and other towns? Oh, okay, just let it go. And then it's exactly what happened. People began to get sick and there was still a lot of travel. People were traveling out of Brazil. People were traveling within Brazil because understand the geographical space that Brazil holds is actually very, very huge. And they played with the idea for some time. But what are we looking at today? 2,000 people are dying every day in Brazil. 90,000 people are being affected on a daily basis in Brazil. Now, that's not to say the same thing will happen here. Infected. 90,000 people being affected every day.
Yes.
2,000 people at least dying every day because of ignoring what could have come about. Now, I'm saying here we are in a situation, and I think it is absolutely necessary for us to understand. Because you've made it clear. We've made it clear. They say wear a mask, you will not. They say maintain social distance, you will not. Somebody stands up today. if somebody decides to defy the rules that President Uhuru Kenyatta has set aside and call a political rally today, people will go and attend that rally because they want to hear what politician has to say, right? Why? Why is it that we can't just do what we have been told to do? And we're not being told to do it because somebody's trying to step on you. They are saying it so that we can actually protect ourselves. Why is it difficult? So that's what I'm saying. If we've talked about it and nobody wants to agree, then I think it's time to enforce it and say, all right, we're going to shut it down, guys, for a particular period of time and stop the transmission. So now, that's what, if possible, to remove any kind of subjective emotion here and just be extremely objective right now. Do we want to survive tomorrow? Do we? Because let's be honest, these things that we saw about ICU beds, it hasn't actually reached a bad state, whereby we saw countries like Italy, people were lining up outside hospitals, lying on the floor, lying on stretchers outside hospital waiting. Kenya didn't get there. Do we want to see a situation where it is so bad that you're lining people up outside of hospital to get medical attention because they cannot breathe, because the disease has infected, the virus has infected so many people that we can't? Do we want to take 3 weeks, 21 days to shut things down so that we stop the spread? Or do we just want to say, all right, you know what, let's just hope that people will do what they've been asked to do and live by the rules and the measures?
What we are seeing, remember there was this discussion about Africans and people on the continent not being affected as such, and the rates that we saw in Europe and other places ended high. Yes, there was truth to it, but that has changed. It has changed significantly. If you look at reports that are coming out from Africa, CDC, and the research that they have done, on the continent it may appear, if you look at it generally, that, well, the numbers aren't really going high. Yes, because you are averaging it. You're looking at an amalgam and then coming up with a certain average. But if you look at country by country, the problem is not only are these things peaking, but some of the peaks are going to almost 5 times, if not higher, than what they previously saw at the point when they considered that the first wave was at its highest point. This isn't something pleasant to look at. It's actually alarming.
It isn't.
Because what it means is more people have been infected. What that means is that more people now can be infected. That's what it means. Then you have a multiplier effect. 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32. If you carry on with the maths, it is something that should shock you and awe you. But let us be realistic. There is livelihood. It is a reality. How do you balance this? You cannot talk about a shutdown and not talk about the livelihood. You can't talk about one without the other.
But it's not going to happen, CT. I mean, let's just be honest right now. Do you think that the government right now is going to say, okay, let's shut this down for 3 weeks and then we're going to see how we can cushion people? The last time it was shambolic at best. The last time where Kenyans were supposed to be cushioned. And it's okay, so we saw some taxes being reduced here and there. We saw the Kazi Amtani being brought into play. On a short notice like this, it's not going to happen. By the time people will complain, to run around week 1, week 2, week 3.
Actually, it can
then
happen.
It's done. Will they do it, CT?
The point I'm making is it can be done. If the government is not willing to do it, that's a different matter. Can they do it? Of course they can. Of course they can. A government that is able to lose so much money, 2 billion shillings a day, you think they can't do this? Why? It's not as though we don't know where we lose money from. It's not as though we can't stem it. It's not as though it came to an end. It never did. What do you mean they can't? They can. They can. They actually can. Forget this nonsense of filling our ears with things that they think, they plan, they wish, they can, they want. No. They can. This isn't a discussion about possibilities. The possibility exists.
Will they? Is a different question.
Yes, it is.
We will hear from the president today. We saw the announcement that he will address the nation today. And of course, COVID is going to be front and center in terms of what he's going to say. Obviously, this announcement will come hopefully well informed by the group of experts who are talking about what needs to be done in terms of the high infections that we are seeing right now and the high numbers that are being recorded across the country. So it's a wait and see what is going to be said. But you know what? Truth be told, that there is something that we can do about it. There is something that we can do to protect ourselves. How I wish we would do it. But in the event that it's not being done, then that responsibility needs to be put in the hands of those who can actually enforce it, in my opinion.
look at the former President Trump. Whatever you say about the legacy, the endearing legacy when people stop politicking is how, because of his action or lack of it thereof, and the position that he took, many Americans lost their lives when they didn't need to. Bolsonaro in Argentina.
Brazil.
Did I say Argentina? Why am I mixing up these countries today?
It's
Why
okay,
am I
they're all
mixing
there on
things?
the south.
No, they're not all there on the south. Brazil. He will be remembered.
For what he did not do.
Yes, and he still keeps making the sort of mix and match statements that don't give you a clear way forward, and Brazilians are dying and dying and dying and dying. This government, talking about legacy and the things they want to do, man, people dying and inaction taking center stage is far more important than building bridges and building roads and putting up affordable housing. It's more important than all those things.
It is.
Yes,
all
because
right.
those houses, people have to live in them.
At the end of the day, you need life.
Yes, those roads, people have to travel on them. Okay? So you're talking about legacies, you're talking about things that must be done. The opportunity to man up and step up and do what needs to be done. This is the opportunity that's presented itself.
Take it.
Yes.
Take it or you lose it, and then we can't get it back. We're going to switch gears in terms of conversations. When we come back from looking at the weather, it's 9:15 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. The conversation changes in just a bit. Stick with us, and we'll see what that is about. All right, some cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 20. It will go to highs of 28 today, lows of 14 this Friday. 10 will be the low in Nyeri. 17 right now and mostly sunny. Highs of 28. We'll see highs of 28 in Nakuru as well. Mostly sunny right now at 19. Mostly sunny conditions in Eldoret at 20. Highs of 26 and lows of 11. 19 will be the low in Kisumu, where it's mostly sunny right now at 26. 28 and mostly sunny conditions in Kakamega. Highs of 33. 33 the high in Mombasa. It's mostly sunny at 31. It's also quite warm in Malindi at 31, going to highs of 33. Sunny conditions in Kampala at 22. We'll see highs of 28 today. The highs will be 32 in Dar es Salaam, where the rain continues at 28. Mostly cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 14. Highs of 22 and lows of 12. It's sunny in Lagos at 25. Highs of 32 and lows of 26. And only partly sunny in Kinshasa at 23. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. Let's go on out east, where it's now raining in Beijing at 13. Highs of 14 and lows of 12. And cloudy conditions in Paris at 5. Highs of 15 and lows of 4. It's mostly cloudy this morning in London at 10. It'll go to highs of 11 and lows of 4. Now into Friday morning in New York. It's cloudy at 10. That'll be the low for today. It'll go to highs of 25.
Spice up your life. SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to
conversation at 18 minutes past 9 o'clock. Nduoko and City Muga in the Situation Room this morning. Worry not. Eric Latif will be back come Monday. All right. So we're switching gears on this conversation now as it goes. City Muga, you have a thing or two to say about marijuana.
Actually, I do, because it's taken center stage if you're discussing new avenues of commerce that must be ventured into. And this isn't a discussion that's taking place in the West only. It's the world over. And you have countries that are legalizing it for industrial use and for medicinal purposes like Morocco. You have countries that are looking at it as an extra income earner for their people and allowing people to say, for instance, grow just 3 pots, pun intended here, of pot. Okay, like in Thailand.
Pots, yeah.
Yes, you have something like 15 states in the US who have tinkered with legalizing it one way or the other, with the bottleneck being at the federal level, where the national government, the federal government, still doesn't seem why it is. And the argument, of course, commercial. It will generate an income, and that income can be taxed directly. Income because of its illegality going into the black market. It will also create employment, and people are talking about just the vast opportunities of employment that it'll likely create. All these things are true. All things are real. But it's now being touted as a product, just that, a recreational product. And there's arguments back and forth about, well, there's some certain ingredients within this particular plant that are actually harmful, but science has managed to remove these particular ingredients. When you take it, all it does is that it induces sleep. Okay? And others are saying, no, well, that may be true, but there hasn't been enough research done on cannabis to determine what quantity of it could be harmful and what could not be. They will say, oh, there isn't. But if you read, what you'll find that the amount of research that has been conducted on another drug called alcohol is not quite the same. That is why with alcohol, they can tell you, you can be told, you can read categorically, this quantity will not be harmful to this degree. This quantity is likely to do, and they will tell you. But then the proponents of cannabis will tell you, my friend, cannabis is 5 times, 10 times, whatever times safer. Truth is, if you look at research that has been conducted, not as much research has been done into the possible harms that cannabis can cause. One of the things that those who talk about the harm talk about what it induces. As it calms you, the after effect is that it does the complete opposite. It heightens your levels of anxiety.
Okay.
So, that in limited quantity for medicinal use, it is useful. That I think has been known. But now for recreational use, and for it being what can be done, used to introduce or infuse an injection into economies in the world, yes, that debate has taken center stage. But people who talk about the greenhouse effect, people who talk about the environment are telling you that given that the production of it on a mass scale has to be in a controlled environment where you use artificial lighting, where you then have to find sources of water. They are saying that the production of cannabis is contributing very significantly to a great deal of harm in the environment. And these discussions go on.
Is it time for a serious discussion to take place, you think, on the continent then about this? Because, the commercial side of it, the medical side of it, and then there's the social side of it. For a lot of people, the concentration is on the social side of it and the social aspect when it comes to, and also, throw in some morals there that people are concerned about. All right, so you're going to open this thing up, which could essentially cause harm to a great number of the population, especially on the younger end, that people will not be able to handle it. They will not be able to control the use of it, and that it'll essentially end up going to a place where it becomes abused. So in as much as you're looking for extra sources of commercial activity, which in my opinion, governments must do, because we've seen that your normal run-of-the-mill way of getting funds for government is not sufficient. There I'm always an advocate for saying that there needs to be more commercial activity on the side of government to be able to run countries. So this is a beautiful example. Rwanda the other day allowed its farmers to start producing. Just like you said, Morocco, hot on the heels of that. Talks going on in countries like South Africa, countries like Gabon, where they're looking at things like this happening. But then what does it do? Can you open it up on one side and say have it for commercial activity, but then the recreational use of the same then must be curtailed? Is there a way to go about it in the middle and say, okay, use it for commercial activity, but shut it down when it comes to recreational use because it is going to harm our population because people are going to inevitably abuse it?
Early in the 20th century, the US experimented with something called prohibition. Alcohol banned. Did they not?
Yes.
How did that work out?
Not so well, because people then found a way to get it.
Yes. Now, the debate that we are having now is how then do you restrict it? If you then ensure that it's available, how do you then restrict it only to those who you consider to be adults? Again, let me take you back to alcohol. Because someone who has the legal age and can buy it will buy it, and it will be available for somebody who isn't of legal age. And unlike alcohol, which has to be carried in bottles and also, cannabis doesn't. It's easier to carry around. This is a debate that, let me say, has only just begun in earnest. In earnest, because previously the debate was, do you legalize, do you not? The legalization debate seems to have been overcome. People are saying, legalize it. Okay, so what's the other debate that takes place? Or once you've legalized it, how then do you control?
Right, how are you going to regulate?
How do you regulate? How do you ensure that it does what it's supposed to do? Essentially, you're asking, how do you regulate human nature? And how are you going to regulate human nature?
It's difficult. What are you going to do? Look, we've just had a conversation now about telling people to wear their masks. Human nature is for them to do what they want to do. How do you step in and say?
You see, the debate again is, if the masks were offered and they were all free, would people wear it? And I think not. Not really. I don't think the cost of it is really the preventative issue here. What is preventative is the attitude that people have about the protection that it affords and what it is they think is important and vital to them. And the debate that always wins the day is what people think is important to them. Not what is actually important, but what they think is important.
So do I hear you saying that the prohibition that could come out of this, so remove that prohibition, let it out, just leave it there for people to be able to make a decision, and you'll find that people then would not abuse it. Is that what you're saying?
You know, it isn't I who needs to say that. You think you're going to catch me out on that one? No. A country like Holland, for the longest time, hasn't had a problem with this.
Because they just allowed it to be free, let everybody do what
Well,
what
there
they
are
want to
cafes
do.
where you can actually go and smoke. There's some form of restriction, yes, but you're not going to get arrested because you are smoking cannabis. Cannabis, to me, is not the issue. The issue is when you know that there is a substance that is an intoxicant and you don't fully understand the consequences of it, because intoxication by is just part of it, right? How then do you ensure that the use of this particular product is beneficial and that the harms that it can possibly bring about are limited? And it isn't just cannabis. It is alcohol. It is everything that we consume. Because if you look at drugs that are prohibited and there's no discussion about, like cocaine, okay? And some of what the drugs that we refer to as hard drugs, unfortunately, many of these drugs find their way into what you call prescription medicine because the benefits are known. It's the excessive consumption or use of it that we know causes untold harms. But that it can be used for some human benefit is understood. The balance is really the discussion here, if you ask me. Not do or don't.
Can you trust people, though, to institute a balance that then works in a healthy manner? And I think that's the problem. That can you trust people to say, all right, here we are, we can see the commercial benefits of this thing. The world is talking about it. That, in fact, what you can actually do commercially with this thing could save economies. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, it can. Medical research in terms of how this can help has already been done on a preliminary level in most cases, and to say that, you know, pain in cancer patients, for example, can be taken care of. A balance of chemicals in the mind when it comes to mental health can also be introduced through cannabis. Preliminary research on that has actually been done. It's working in some countries, right? That can help. Another place where it can help. Now, when you bring in the social aspect of it and use it as a recreational drug, can you trust people to say that they won't abuse this? Put it out there and say, can you just leave it there and leave it to the whims of self-judgment and say that we will not abuse this thing? Put in regulation and assume that people will stick to the rules.
Can you trust the world of commerce to be honest about the product and tell you everything that they know about it? Or do you expect them to simply promote what they think will sell the product? Because even as we talk about alcohol, let's talk about tobacco. How long did it take before regulation got to the point where it wasn't harmful, it kills? Was what you find in a packet of cigarettes.
Okay, CT, we have to take a break. But we're going to come back and continue this because I think it's absolutely important to look at then on the other side of the argument, what can happen. Before we do take that break, the Kenya Savannah Classic, presented by ABSA, Kenya's newest addition to the European tour, is currently underway at the Karen Country Club. Keep an eye out for some of our top Kenyan players like Samuel Njoroge and King David Waku, who is currently leading the Kenyan players. Will he stay on top? Will the magical Kenya Open champion Harding take a second crown? Follow all the action live on KTN News. You can join the conversation online by using the hashtags #KSC2021 and Kenya Savannah Classic. In the meantime, grab a copy of the Standard newspaper or visit the Standard website, www.standardmedia.co.ke, for detailed daily analysis and rankings. We're going to take a look at traffic right now. This is the Situation Room. It is Kenya's biggest conversation.
.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Why? I don't understand. Things were going so well on Thika Road, and then somebody decided to drive in the opposite direction, and that has gotten cops annoyed, and then that has caused some traffic right around Garden City. Why now? I don't understand. Anyway, so now we have a little bit of a traffic situation there. Hopefully that'll get sorted out, and then you don't have to be stuck in traffic for too long. All right? Mombasa Road is still here and there. Bumper to bumper manenos, at least for a little bit. It shouldn't be too crazy once you get past the turn off to the southern bypass. All right. Apart from that, it's flowing very well. Kiambu Road, fantastic. Coming out of Westlands is looking great into the CBD and outbound, even past Kangemi. Where was that initial traffic? That has been sorted, so you're moving and moving well. Bypasses, southern, eastern, northern, even Red Hill. Looking pretty good, guys. It's that Friday. Hope it remains that way through the day. If it doesn't, or if it does, share the good news. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive, and of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Chilled Spice. Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, and it continues right now with me, Nduoko, and Siti Muga in the studio this morning. Now we are looking at this situation of cannabis, where we tread very softly and carefully for a lot of people. And for a lot of people in some countries around the world, not even treading softly, but saying, you know what, welcome, come, and let's have this conversation. Siti, even as we're talking about it and looking at the possibilities of such, are we being told the truth about this? Are we being told the truth about other substances that we deal with on a regular basis? This new one, relatively new, that can now be introduced, where before it was even taboo to discuss it and talk about it. Should we then be having bold conversations now on the continent specifically so about how this thing can be used for benefit when it comes to governments commercially, and then also for individuals? Is it okay?
See, cannabis has just joined the queue. Remember, for the longest time in the developed nations, when you talked about class action, groups of people, say, suing a company or an organization, You heard of big tobacco, okay? Cancer-related conditions. What is at center now is opioids and the addiction that many of them present. But these are prescription drugs. Now, the problem is the fact that it is a prescription drug doesn't mean someone who doesn't have the prescription will not have access to it. Okay. Here we are now saying that we don't want cannabis to be in the category of things which are even prescribed for you. We want it to be free for everybody to access it as they see fit. Yes.
And that's dangerous.
But then, what isn't dangerous?
Just because other things aren't doesn't mean that you need to add something to the entire bouquet.
We're actually not adding. We're not adding. It already exists. You see? What legalizing it does, if you look at it holistically, it gives you an opportunity to bring in the controls I was talking about. Forget this one of just, you see, when it's illegal, then you're busy trying to sort of like snuff out any avenues that may be available for people to. But you can't. The cracks just keep growing. And what you do, you actually make it even more valuable when you ban it. Because you are banning something people want to use.
They want to use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, so the real battle is, how do you get people to have a balanced view of this? This is why I said, forget legalizing morality or regulating it. Let's put that aside and ask ourselves, the people you can regulate are the people who benefit by profiting from it. You can, that's why I brought in tobacco. You can say, look, you want to deal in this, then you are also going to contribute to the research into this thing so that we actually know exactly what it can do.
Okay, so tell us the benefits and tell us now also the dangers.
You have to.
We have like a lot of the huge tobacco companies on the planet, even as they sell their products, which interestingly enough they still are able to sell, right? However, they're telling you right off the bat that, for example, cigarette smoking can contribute to 1, 2, 3. It can contribute to poor heart health. It can contribute to lung cancer. It can contribute to lung disease and such. So you have to be involved in making sure that even as people consume this thing, that they are aware of the dangers. Are you saying that it'll make it a little bit easier to deal with things like cannabis if those who want to be involved in the commercial activity of such then are pointing out the dangers at the same time so that you know what you're dealing with off the bat? And then it'll be okay.
You see, people who are in the business of producing and selling things will tell you what they think will benefit them and how they will sell it. They don't tell you everything they need to know about it. They don't. That's why the concept and the business of consumer protection actually gained footage, because it was understood. In the absence of someone doing a check and balance, you will be given half a story of what it is that it is you are buying or purchasing. There was a gentleman called Ralph Nader in the previous century, very famous, the Detroit motor industry. He gained a lot of publicity as a result. He would challenge them and he went beyond the motor industry into other products. Remember when someone says it has this percentage of this, it is skimmed, it's okay, fine. Show us the research that has gone into these percentages that you're giving us. We're calling you to account for the truth about this. Now, it's something we are not very strong on in this country. You'll have a product and you'll be told this product has this. There is really no guarantee that it has all the things it says it has.
Because you said it does.
Because it is said.
Yeah.
Kenya Bureau of Statistics may tell you that, well, we've looked into it and we think we know. Something as simple as you're being told this matchbox has 100 sticks.
Then you count them and they're 83.
Precisely. Some are even 70. Okay? All I'm saying is, until and unless you are saying that across the world, you'll have protection agencies that actually do their job. If you have such a protection agency in Kenya, what we know, sadly, is that you've opened an avenue for people to receive bribes. Because
in order to pass the...
Yes, because someone will produce something that is what we call substandard, and yet they will sell it because they've been able to say, well, yeah, it has our stamp. It shows this thing is this and the other. We are asking the same of a product that people like to consume, people enjoy. But ask yourself, why is it that there seems to be a rise in the popularity of this particular product? Or why do people, for instance, need to take opioids? It starts off as a painkiller, but what does it do for you?
It allows you to escape some kind of reality
Precisely.
within which you exist.
Yes, just like alcohol does for many people.
Mhm.
And the argument is, just like people sit at home after a hard day's work and drink some form of alcohol,
Yes.
as a
relax-
nightcap, as a sundowner, as a whatever. Well, you can sundown with cannabis, and you can downsize with cannabis, whatever it is you want to do with cannabis. All these things may be pleasurable and people may desire them, but in the absence of a clear protection that is provided by understanding what it is this product is and what it's doing to you. For you, you've already figured out what you want, but to you, while it's doing it for you, it's something that must be made available. If not, then legalizing it simply becomes a death trap for very, very many individuals.
So, let it be legalized for commercial, for medical, for recreational use, if and only if all the dangers, clear and present and otherwise, are brought to the fore. All necessary research is done for you to see exactly what it is that you're dealing with. And once you're able to present all of these to whomever is going to use it, those in the commercial sector, those in the private sector, those in the medical fraternity, once all of this has been presented to them, legalize it so that once you get into it, you know what it is that you're dealing with. And does that become okay? Does that stop anybody from then being able to abuse it?
It doesn't, but you have a check and balance in place. Right now, we've been discussing COVID and what happened in Europe when people said, folks, let's pause. And I told you the Data Safety and Management Board exists in all research settings across the world, or a body of equivalent powers and authority. So that the moment there's harm that is related to, not proved to be caused by, but related to, you halt. It's a process. You halt it, and until it is proven that it isn't the cause. If it is the cause, then you halt it, you stop it completely. If it isn't, then you say, you continue it.
Let's look at this a little
So
bit
if
more.
it's in Kenya, we have a drug and poisons board. All right? You want this cannabis which you produce to be licensed, because essentially it's being licensed. Let the poisons board come up and tell you, we've looked at this thing, and the literature that you've produced, and it tells us that it is possible for human use in a limited form, in an experimental form, whatever it is. I am saying that's the level you should go to. That's what I'm saying. Because we know the medicinal use that cannabis has been put to, and we know that that goes through these tests. Now, you want it for recreational use, let it go through a similar test. Because now you're opening it up, not to people who have need for it, but to everybody. And anybody. Yes.
By virtue of the fact that it could be in your individual space.
Yes. And you will have people who are not of legal age saying, but it's allowed. It is there. All I'm saying is that anything that has the potential for causing harm should be looked at not just through a certain multicolored prisms, but through a multi-layers of microscopes.
So it shouldn't be any different from alcohol and all these other drugs. that
Actually,
we
I'm not
see.
even talking about alcohol. I'm talking about prescription medication. You know that process that it goes through? Take it through that process.
And then it should be all right if you do.
Then we know. You see, right now you're saying make it public, and there's a lot we
Don't
not
know about
know. We are talking about the pleasures, the love, the goodness, the nice, the this. But you're not telling people, after you've consumed it for 10 years, what does it do to your brain? What does it do to other parts of your body? These are discussions that must be had. Just simply saying it is good, fine, we've understood. Those who consume it will tell you it is good. But man, we also know people who've consumed it, and we've seen what has happened to
It
them.
has done a number on them.
Yes, and it's not pleasant at all. With alcohol, people say it kills brain cells. And there's certain particular types of alcohol which they tell you
Do
are
it better than
particularly
others.
good at doing that better than others. Where somebody is at the age of 25 and they keep having senior moments. At the age of 25, your memory shouldn't be going to the dogs. 25. It should be peaking.
It should.
So, all we're saying is, go ahead and do what you need to do.
Those who are pushing for the legalization of it, and those who are pushing for at least, an embracing moment of it, have also put forth the arguments that, this thing has been studied, it's been used.
By whom, for how long, and with what stringent measures. Remember, my yardstick is the same yardstick you use for medicines that are prescribed and given to people. That is the yardstick you use, because already this is a product that has medicinal uses. Now we are bringing the non-medicinal uses of it. Okay, we are bringing the recreational uses of it, and I'm saying the same stringent measures. And remember, in medicines, it is controlled. It's certain amounts.
Not just willy-nilly as
Here
you say,
now,
as
it's
you-
take the whole leaf and smoke it.
Okay, CT, let's take a break, but let's look at the Kenya Savannah Classic that's going on right now. It's presented to you by ABSA. It's off to a hot start at the Karen Country Club following the conclusion of the Magical Kenya Open a couple of days ago, which was won by Justin Hardin from South Africa. The tournament is still taking place in a bubble, but you can still catch all the action live on KTN News. It's worth noting that the European Tour and tournament partner ABSA have come together to reward every single birdie ranked in this doubleheader, raked in rather. ABSA have pledged to reward every birdie scored with 1,000 shillings, while European Tour, through their Golf for Good initiative, will match the figure with 2,000 shillings for every birdie. Funds collected will not be given to the players, but instead will be used to fund a charitable cause in Kenya. This doubleheader enjoys the support of Safaricom, Wilkin Wireless, Copycat, the Sports Arts and Social Development Fund, Karen Country Club, Johnny Walker, Caringet, AAR, and Hemingways.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive, and of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Chilled Spice.
There are so many people peddling what is false, and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande hii umbo yako iko na pembe.
Hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You're tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation, and we're still, raking out this conversation about where we are with cannabis. Nduoko and Titi Muga in the studio with you today, and so we're going to open it up to you guys and listen to what you have to say. 0719 012 600. The conversation about cannabis is taking the world by storm. Cannabis, medical marijuana on its own, whether for commercial, whether for medical, or whether for recreational use. Siti Muga is saying this morning, you know what? If we are saying introduce this thing in the world, however you want to introduce it, even if it's brought in for commercial purposes, feel free to stop me where I'm wrong. Even if it's brought in for commercial purposes, there is going to be the invitation of recreational use and medical use. When you are doing that, you need to make sure that this thing has been put to the rigorous testing that every other drug has been put to, whether it's drug, medical, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever it is you want to look at. Put it through that same rigorous testing. And once you're done with that and you have all the negatives and positives, all the pros and cons, then you can release it into the market. What do you think this morning? 0719 012 600. Okay, Dante. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How about you?
Fine, thank you.
First of all, let me say this. I think we should stop the hypocrisy that's going on here. because one, cannabis has been there for a long time. If it was something that was very harmful, I think by now human beings would have left it.
Okay.
So what we can see, especially developing nations, instead of borrowing money, why not grow this plant and sell it to people who are using it? We don't have to use it necessarily. Yeah. So I think governments in Africa more so are pretending that they're protecting their population. But in other words, they're just making us more poorer. Hello?
Yes,
hello, we can hear you.
I think we should have gone the Rwanda way. I think what Rwanda is doing is more feasible. And if you look at the proponents of marijuana use, as much as City can say that no much research has been done into marijuana, we have doctors in Israel who've actually looked at the plant and they're saying that it's not that harmful to human beings, especially if you're past 20 years old.
Is that all they're saying?
They are saying minors, it might hurt minors because of the development of the brain and all this there. But if you're of age and if it's used correctly, medical marijuana or creative marijuana, recreational marijuana is just fine. Yeah, but what we are saying is that we don't want our country to use it. We can plant it, sell it to Canada. Maybe the U.S., we had Joe Biden yesterday is decriminalizing it in a federal level.
Yeah.
Why not find ways to sell them?
Okay, so, I mean, he made that move very boldly yesterday and finally said, you know what, at a federal level, we're saying, criminal aspect, we're going to remove it from this for now. So what you're saying is that not necessarily that Kenyans, using Kenya as an example now, not necessarily that you're going to introduce it for recreational social use, but it can be used on a commercial level and actually be used for export, for example, and that should be fine.
Strictly commercially, yes.
And
I think that...
Yes, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I think that is the only way we can come out of these debts we are incurring from China and other places. Yeah, if we can sell this thing and it can provide the money we need to develop, why not?
I want to take you back to the example you gave of Israel. They actually have an agency. It's called Israel Medical Cannabis Agency. They have one. But even cannabis for medicinal use has not been licensed in Israel, even as we speak right now. Yes, they have found some benefits, but any research will tell you that these are the benefits and these are the harms. There is no product that will not have harms in it. But when it is licensed for medicinal use, it means, just like we've been discussing with the COVID vaccine, the good far outweighs whatever harm, and the harm can easily be mitigated. So a research that is done into any product will give you the pros and the cons, not just the pros. So the point, I'm glad you mentioned Israel, and they do have an agency that deals with cannabis. They actually, which means they take it seriously. And I could argue that they are still venturing into research.
But the moment, sir, the good and bad is relative. And for a poor person, more money in your pocket is surely good.
More money in your pocket.
Actually, the Thai government would agree with you because they have actually allowed citizens to have 3 pots of cannabis plant to help augment their income. So there are people who would agree with your way of looking at it.
And the other point about global warming, I don't see how having more plants would actually hurt the environment.
Actually, they would, because of the power that would be used in actually growing them. The moment you are not using sunlight and you're using light generated through power, just the process of generating that power will have a direct impact on the environment. Just that. I'm putting it as simply as I possibly can.
That is if you chose to go that commercial route.
Yeah.
But you can plant, people are planting it in Western Kenya, just naturally like that.
Okay.
That is true.
It is true. You'll be shocked about what happened. Thank you so much for your insights this morning, Dante. Let's hear from Justice. Justice, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Indu.
How are you?
And the guy who sneaks in and out of the program.
The guy who sneaks in and out of the program greets you also and says he's fine.
How are you, sir? How have you been? I want to begin by giving testifying that my grandfather used to use marijuana.
And?
It was naturally grown, but we never touched it. Not even my father touched it. There was a silent understanding that there's a certain age where you can be eligible to touching it. There was even also a tool which made sure that by the time the person smokes it, and I think City, you're familiar with that gadget, where it passes through water, it's filtered, so by the time the smoker smokes it, he's actually smoking a very purified air.
I love the way you keep giving me this acclaim for things that I ought to know. And actually, you're right. I do know about it because the culture that I emanate from, they not had it, they still have it. And there was a name for it. It was called Puga.
Yes. Puga. Yes. So you see what I'm driving at, that the plant has been there, but with very informally strict regulatory mechanisms.
Okay.
So if we are going to come out for it commercially or whichever way, then we need to modernize and actually make sure that there are official strict regulations when it's used. This could relate to age, purpose, who prescribes, and all this. But my biggest fear is once it is regulated haphazardly or not very clearly, we are going to have synthetic. There is a difference between synthetic and marijuana and pure.
Right.
So if we can close that loophole of synthetic, and I'm very sure most of us agree that some of the drugs, even alcohol currently, the most problematic forms of alcohol are the synthetic ones. If you get the very naturally, organically made alcohol, it has even some nutritional value. But the synthetic ones are terrible. So if we can be able to curb those mechanisms, before we say we want to open it up, we want to plant it up, remember there will always be somebody thinking, how do I manufacture it faster? So how do we close those loopholes? Thank you, but it's a very interesting conversation. Mombasa tuko.
Asante sana, Justice. Keep well, my brother. All right, let's hear from Lydia as we wrap up this conversation. Lydia, what do you think about this? Hello, Lydia. Good morning.
Good morning, City and Ndu.
How are you?
Good morning, Lydia. Long time no see.
I am always rushing away somewhere. That's why I can't call. So I wanted to say these drugs, from marijuana and whatever, even smoking cigarettes, they make us into slaves. All the people who deal with these drugs, they don't look right. They are all the time, their mind is focused on that drug, not focused on their work. Every 10 minutes they want to go out and smoke, which is not correct. If whatever makes us into slaves, it's not worth it.
I hear you, Lydia.
It's damaging our health. Thank you, Spice FM.
Thank you so much, Lydia. I mean, it's interesting that people have so many views on this, but one thing that has come through CT is the regulation of such. And even as we wind down this conversation this morning, it's possible to be done with regulation. Can invite it into the country, no? Yes?
You see, the ingredient, the components of this particular plant that renders it into the category of a narcotic, it immediately goes into conventions and rules that the world over are followed when you're dealing with anything that is a narcotic. And before it is actually released to the general public for consumption, the rules and regulations are there, and it's also understood. Everything about it that is humanly possible is understood as they continue researching to find out more and more
about it.
And then it is limited in use. It is regulated. It is controlled.
It is controlled.
Yes.
Okay. So as we come to the end of the show this morning, CT, you want to wrap things up with today's proverb?
Well, the reason why I chose this particular proverb, remember, it was during the week when we were celebrating the World
International Women's Day.
And your world, okay? She is beautiful. She has love, understanding. She respects herself and others. Everyone loves her and honors her. She is a goddess. Women have always been revered and given the highest honor in most societies. It's just that in modern times, in the way we think and the way we go about things, by our actions, we have watered down and diminished the rightful position that women should have in our societies.
Good place to end it on this week, absolutely, and something to remember. Thank you for being part of the Situation Room this week. Take a break for the weekend. We're back to have bigger conversations as the new week comes in. I'm going to ask you to do two things. Keep safe and do what you can do to keep yourself from the virus this week. It's Ndu Oko and Siti Muga signing out this Friday, and we come back and continue. Like I said, we don't take for granted your contribution in the Situation Room. We ask that you keep joining us every time we have this talk. For now, we're going to go into Sugar and Spice and everything nice. Great music sessions all the way till 3 p.m. where Monique comes and takes you in on the Spice Drive. And then you will be with Barbara, the adults in the room, this evening until 10 p.m. And those conversations continue on Spice FM throughout the day. So we're going to leave you with Sugar and Spice and everything nice from now until 3 p.m. where Monique will join you, and thereafter